A cold blade sliced through the air, its shadow darting at an impossible angle toward the towering golden gibbon. The beast, over 2 meters tall and covered in glistening greenish-black scales, roared as it lunged forward. Its massive arms, infamous for their brute strength, swept through the shadow, shattering it into shimmering fragments. Before the shards fully dissipated, 3 more sword lights flashed in rapid succession, cutting through the dim atmosphere of the dark forest. It had been 6 days since Jian Wushuang ventured into the foreboding wilderness. During his relentless search, he had faced countless battles, many of which pushed him to the brink of survival. Spirit beasts of the profound transforming sea realm and even the exceptional transforming sea realm had tested his limits, honing his instincts and skill. Now, his swordsmanship carried a razor-sharp edge that it hadn't possessed 6 days earlier. Each battle had tempered not only his blade but also his resolve. Although Jian Wushuang had trained extensively at the Sword Marquis Mansion and gained some experience in the gladiator arena, it was in these unrelenting encounters that his true growth began. The weakness born of inexperience was being burned away. Clang! A brilliant, fleeting arc of light streaked past the golden gibbon's defenses, striking its throat with precision. The beast gurgled, its monstrous body collapsing in a torrent of dark, steaming blood. "Another victory," remarked Sima Bu as he approached, his tone a mix of admiration and amusement. "That makes 7 spirit beasts in the profound transforming sea realm this week alone. Your spiritual power still has room to grow before you reach the exceptional transforming sea realm, but your swordsmanship is undeniably sharper." Jian Wushuang shook his head, his expression calm. "I've made progress, but I'm still far from where I need to be. My technique is enough to deal with these lesser beasts, but against stronger opponents, I can't fully harness my potential. Experience and mastery, those are what I lack." He clenched his fists tightly. "If only I were more seasoned in battle." "Don't be so hard on yourself," Sima Bu said, his smile laced with encouragement. "You've already achieved what many could only dream of at your level. Besides," he added with a knowing look, "I've been observing you. Your talent in swordsmanship is remarkable, and I have something that might help you." With a casual motion, Sima Bu flipped his right hand, and a yellow wire-bound book materialized in his palm. Jian Wushuang's eyes widened. "Is that an interspatial ring?" Sima Bu chuckled, pointing to the gold ring on his finger. "Indeed. This is the Gold Dragon Ring, a gift from the Gold Dragon Palace. If you ever find yourself there, you could earn one of these, after completing a formidable task to join the Gold Dragon Guard." Fascination flickered across Jian Wushuang's face. "A task? Interesting. This book," Sima Bu continued, handing it over, "contains insights into sword principles from a supreme expert in the Yinyang Void Realm. It's a rare treasure. Study it well, you'll find invaluable wisdom within." Jian Wushuang reverently accepted the book, the weight of its potential knowledge pressing on him. Supreme experts of the Yinyang Void Realm were legendary figures in the Tianzong dynasty, their wisdom a beacon for warriors striving for greatness. Flipping through the pages, Jian Wushuang immersed himself in the text. The book opened with an explanation of sword principle, divided into 2 fundamental aspects: sword arts, the forms and techniques of swordsmanship, and sword essence, the spiritual and elemental mastery underlying true swordsmanship. Together, they formed the foundation of the sword principle. The first chapter delved into sword arts. If a swordsman relies solely on rigid techniques, the text read, he is no different from an amateur. True mastery comes from fluidity and adaptability. A skilled practitioner, even with inferior techniques, can outmatch opponents of greater strength if he wields his sword with purpose. Jian Wushuang frowned as he read. The author, while insightful, dismissed sword arts as trivial compared to sword principle, an opinion that clashed with Jian Wushuang's own beliefs. "Without sword arts, how could I have defeated Jian Meng'e or Yi Mo? How could I have survived battles against spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm?" he mused. Despite the author's disdain for sword arts, Jian Wushuang couldn't deny their importance in his journey thus far. Setting aside the sword arts chapter, he turned to the second, sword essence. The chapter described sword essence as a deeper manifestation of one's mastery. It was divided into 2 approaches: enhancing swordsmanship through focused energy and shaping the essences of nature into weapons of unparalleled strength. Essences of the universe, the book explained, are the building blocks of all creation: earth, fire, wind, water. Through comprehension and mastery, a swordsman can channel these essences into his blade, creating techniques that surpass even the most refined sword arts. Jian Wushuang read with rapt attention. The sword essence chapter was intricate, filled with examples and potential applications. He was particularly fascinated by the descriptions of elemental sword essences, such as the sword essence of gale, sword essence of raging fire, and sword essence of the water drop, each with unique properties and devastating potential. Time slipped away as Jian Wushuang delved deeper into the text, his understanding of sword principle expanding with every page. After immersing himself in the sword essence chapter, Jian Wushuang finally raised his head, his breath steady but his eyes flickering with a trace of awe and disbelief. "How's the reading coming along?" Sima Bu asked, observing him with a faint smile. "It's incredible," Jian Wushuang replied, his tone serious. "Especially the part on sword essence. My father once mentioned it during my training, but I never truly understood what it meant. Now I finally see, sword essence is the understanding and harnessing of the natural power of heaven and earth." Sima Bu nodded approvingly. "Exactly. Sword essence goes beyond skill, it's about understanding the forces around you. Here, let me show you." Drawing the saber at his waist, Sima Bu turned toward a nearby boulder, several meters away. Without hesitation, he slashed. Crack! A thin fissure split the rock, sending a few shards tumbling to the ground. "That was just a normal attack," Sima Bu said casually. "Now observe when I channel the essence of heaven and earth." He raised his saber again, his stance shifting subtly. This time, an unmistakable fiery energy radiated from his blade as he struck. Boom! The boulder exploded into a rain of rubble, leaving nothing but dust in its wake. Jian Wushuang's heartbeat quickened as he felt the fiery power that accompanied the second strike. "Was that the essence of heaven and earth?" he asked, his voice tinged with wonder. Sima Bu sheathed his saber and smiled. "It was. This is the difference between an ordinary attack and one infused with natural essence. The essences of heaven and earth, be it wind, fire, earth or water, are the forces of nature itself. Warriors who master these essences can unleash unimaginable power. But," he added, "this was only a superficial application. A true master could wield far greater strength." Jian Wushuang couldn't hide his astonishment. "Is this why warriors strive to master sword essence after reaching the gold core realm?" "Precisely," Sima Bu said. "Once a warrior grasps even a trace of sword essence, their strength can grow exponentially. I once encountered a genius swordsman like you. Though newly entered into the gold core realm, he had already comprehended 3 sword essences. That allowed him to kill a warrior in the exceptional gold core realm with a single strike." "What?" Jian Wushuang was stunned. The gap between the initial gold core realm and the exceptional gold core realm was vast, like a chasm that most could never cross. Yet this genius bridged it with the mastery of sword essence. "Sword essence, is that powerful?" Jian Wushuang murmured, his mind racing. Sima Bu nodded. "It is. And though you aren't yet at the gold core realm, your talent in swordsmanship compelled me to give you this book. Whether you can comprehend sword essence depends entirely on your dedication and understanding." Jian Wushuang clenched his fists and nodded firmly. "I will." He had already seen the vast difference between those who understood the essences of heaven and earth and those who did not. The Sword Essence chapter outlined methods for comprehending these forces in painstaking detail. Filled with determination, Jian Wushuang immersed himself in the practice. The following days in the dark forest were relentless. Jian Wushuang continued to battle spirit beasts of the profound transforming sea realm and even the exceptional transforming sea realm. But alongside his combat practice, he dedicated every spare moment to studying sword essence. One day, in an open canyon within the forest, Jian Wushuang stood alone, his long sword extended. He had held this position for over half an hour, his eyes closed as the wind whispered around him. The wind. It's invisible, but it's everywhere, asterisk asterisk he thought, his focus unwavering. Slowly he moved his sword, each motion light and deliberate, flowing with the gentle currents around him. Bit by bit, he began to sense the wind, not just as a presence but as a force. A faint smile formed on his lips as an inkling of understanding took root. His sword movements quickened, flowing more naturally with the breeze. The air seemed to respond, wrapping around his blade like a companion. Sima Bu, lounging on a nearby rock, watched with mild amusement. "This kid is trying to comprehend sword essence already," he muttered, shaking his head. "But it's not so simple." He recalled his own grueling journey to grasp the blade essence of raging fire. Years spent living by a volcano, enduring its blistering heat, before finally catching a glimpse of its essence. Many warriors never managed even that, despite lifetimes of effort. Still, Sima Bu couldn't help but admire Jian Wushuang's determination. Even with his talent, it'll take him years to. He froze mid-thought, his eyes narrowing. Jian Wushuang's sword began moving faster, so fast in fact, that the blade was a blur. And he wasn't using any sword arts. Each strike was fluid and intuitive, guided by something deeper. The sword flows with the wind. The wind becomes the sword, asterisk asterisk. Realization dawned on Sima Bu, his astonishment growing. The sword principle of Gale. He's comprehended it already. It had been a single day since Jian Wushuang received the book. A single day since he'd even learned about the existence of the essence realm of heaven and earth. And yet, before Sima Bu's eyes, Jian Wushuang had not only grasped the concept but achieved an understanding of the sword principle of Gale. What speed, what talent, Sima Bu muttered, completely dumbfounded.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
Whoosh! Sword light flashed at an amazingly fast speed, just like a fish swimming in the water, shifting around naturally. It was quite a bit later when Jian Wushuang finally stopped practicing. Kid, I think I am beginning to understand why Bloodfeather Tower chased you in such a crazy manner, Sima Bu said to him with a complex look on his face. To be honest, I have to admit that you are an exceptional genius. You have grasped the sword principle of Gale today even though you just learned of the essence realm of heaven and earth yesterday. Your talent completely outmatches the exceptional genius I mentioned to you earlier. If I'm not mistaken, although your natural talent is good, part of it must have to do with your awakening of the sword soul. Sword soul. Jian Wushuang felt a tremor in his heart, then nodded, quietly approving. Indeed, when practicing his swordsmanship, he also realized that something inside him helped him comprehend the essences of heaven and earth. Even though it was difficult for others, he could easily grasp the sword essence of Gale. But what was it inside him that helped him comprehend the essences of heaven and earth? Undoubtedly, it must be because of his sword soul awakening. Sword soul. Something that drove Bloodfeather Tower to chase after him desperately. Naturally, it must be extraordinary. It was due to the sword soul that he could immediately and swiftly comprehend a trace of the sword essence of Gale. Anyhow, I have already grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale. With it, my swordsmanship should be several times or even dozens of times more skillful than before. Jian Wushuang thought with a bright look in his eyes. Only a trace of sword essence of Gale could easily make his sword several times faster once it was integrated into his swordsmanship. Such an increase in speed also helped sharpen his swordsmanship, greatly contributing to its piercing force. It would cause his level of swordsmanship to increase immensely. Let me test it against a spirit beast first. Jian Wushuang thought quietly. Shortly after, he fought with a huge iron-backed bear. Its force was extremely dreadful and absolutely the most formidable spirit beast in the exceptional transforming sea realm. If he had encountered this huge iron-backed bear before grasping a trace of the sword essence of Gale, Jian Wushuang would have had no choice but to flee in a disorderly manner. However, now he did not even show a trace of fear. Kill. After releasing a low howl, with his eyes blazing like torches, Jian Wushuang waved his sword. Sword light flashed out across the air for several meters before finally striking the huge body of the iron-backed bear directly. The sword light was so fleeting that the iron-backed bear didn't even realize its body had been injured at first. Instantly, a flood of fresh blood poured out from the sword scar on its body. Though the sword scar was nothing to its huge body and strong defense, it was definitely enough to enrage the iron-backed bear. Howl. The howl from the iron-backed bear's mouth echoed in the surroundings. Its two giant feet stamped on the ground as it made great strides towards Jian Wushuang. Every step forward produced a minor tremor. Go to hell, human. The dark golden eyes of the iron-backed bear were a bloody color and its desire to kill Jian Wushuang increased dramatically. Haha, come on. Jian Wushuang began to laugh loudly while moving his sword to fight against it. After a while, a cold and dazzling sword light directly penetrated its defense and plunged into its throat. Iron-backed bears are formidable in both power and defense, but their speed is very slow. Now that I have grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale, I can easily surpass it in speed. There is no chance for it to resist against my absolute advantage in speed. Jian Wushuang smiled secretly. Iron-backed bears, the most formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm. Now, they could easily be slain by Jian Wushuang. Continue. Next, the tests progressed forward as he battled one formidable spirit beasts after another, such as purple crystal-winged lions, phantom foxes, gibbon-shaped wolverines, 9 poisons pythons and so on. The most formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm became the opponents of Jian Wushuang and were eventually killed by him. Time flew by. It had already been 1 month since Jian Wushuang entered the Dark Forest. The Dark Forest covered an abundantly immense area, stretching across 2 provinces. Although he had already traveled for a month, Jian Wushuang still had a long way to go before he would reach the Tiannan province. With his hands crossed, in the darkness of the forest, Sima Bu gravely stared at Jian Wushuang, who was practicing his swordsmanship in front of him. In his eyes, he could clearly perceive that every one of Jian Wushuang's extremely heavy moves interacted and integrated with the earth. Sword essence of earth. He has just grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale, but in less than a month after that, he seems to have also grasped the sword essence of earth. Unbelievable, it's really unbelievable. It shocked Sima Bu to his core. It was really incredible for him to simultaneously grasp two kinds of sword essence within a month. However, this made Sima Bu much more curious about Sword Soul. What on earth is Sword Soul? And how did it create such a monster? It wasn't long before Jian Wushuang finished practicing his swordsmanship. Earth, warm and heavy. The sword essence of earth is exactly like this. Jian Wushuang forced a smile and rejoiced. He himself didn't expect to grasp the sword essence as easily as he did today. He grasped sword principle of Gale earlier, but only 1 month later he had also grasped a trace of the sword essence of earth. For his part, that must be the result of the sword soul. Great progress had been made in his swordsmanship in the past month. First, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th heaven of the divine path after 1 month's worth of life and death fighting and day and night cultivation. His current level was comparable to when he used the soul-taking secret skill to fight against Yi-Mo. At its peak, the 9th heaven of the divine path was equivalent to the exceptional transforming sea realm. Secondly, his swordsmanship, and especially his fighting experience, had made greater progress. Now, without a doubt, he was completely experienced in fighting. As for sword essence, he learned more tricks in the sword essence of Gale and became more skilled and flexible in the practice and use of sword essence. But more importantly, he also apprehended a trace of the sword essence of earth just now. It must be acknowledged that he had grasped two different sword essences of nature in this short amount of time. Characterized by its flexibility and fastness, the sword essence of Gale could make sword arts and piercing force much more powerful. As for the sword essence of earth, it was boundless and tremendous due to its heaviness and steadiness. If used perfectly and flexibly, these two sword essences could make his sword arts more dreadful and formidable. After a month of cultivating and fighting, I have killed numerous spirit beasts easily. Even the formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm are not considered a threat to me, so, exposing a cold look in his eyes, Jian Wushuang made a decision in his mind. What? You are going to fight against spirit beasts in the gold core realm? Sima Bu looked at Jian Wushuang with astonishment. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Just as water naturally runs downhill, he aspired to fight against stronger spirit beasts, ones in the gold core realm, to practice his swordsmanship. It was a fact that spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm couldn't pose a threat to him. Despite the big difference between the gold core realm and transforming sea realm, Jian Wushuang was still confident in his strength. As we all know, the peak of the 9th heaven of the divine path could rival the spiritual power of the exceptional transforming sea realm. With his sword arts as well as the sword essences of both Gale and earth, he had the ability to fight with spirit beasts in the gold core realm. Brother Bu, don't worry about me. With my current strength, I can fight against the weaker spirit beasts in the gold core realm. Even if I can't beat them, I can escape. If I can't escape, I can count on you, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. In the past 1 month, he got along well with Sima Bu, who always gave him references and guidance from nearby when he was fighting with spirit beasts. Jian Wushuang appreciated that very much. Alright, I still want to remind you that spirit beasts in the gold core realm are so powerful that you may be killed by them before I can help you out. You must be careful when you confront them, Sima Bu advised repeatedly. Certainly, I won't risk my life, said Jian Wushuang while smiling. Then he began to search for nearby spirit beasts at the gold core realm. Spirit beasts at the transforming sea realm in the dark forest were everywhere, but those in the gold core realm were rare. During the last month, they only met several spirit beasts at the gold core realm, and once meeting them, they chose to escape instead of fighting. Jian Wushuang searched for them for a long time, but he failed to find one at the gold core realm on the first day. However, he found a spirit beast already in the profound gold core realm the next day. Even though it was barely in the profound gold core realm, fighting against it was like playing with fire, so he decided to give up. Jian Wushuang didn't find a suitable spirit beast in the gold core realm to fight with until the 3rd day. It's a bloody moon devil wolf. Staring at the more than 1 meter high, dark red devil wolf, whose whole body seemed to have been bathed in blood, Jian Wushuang desperately desired to fight it. Human beings. Just like Jian Wushuang, the dark red eyes of the bloody moon devil wolf also stared at him. Stronger spirit beasts are also much wiser. This bloody moon devil wolf in the gold core realm was as intelligent as a human being, so it could also feel Jian Wushuang's burning desire to fight. You, a small ant, who has not even reached the gold core realm, how dare you fight with me? Go to hell. With a sudden release of all his strength, the bloody moon devil wolf moved so fast that only a bloody shadow was left in the air. Wearing a serious look, Jian Wushuang used his long sword against the bloody moon devil wolf right when its shadow flashed. Jian Wushuang used a mysterious angle to both stab and block the shadow of the bloody moon devil wolf as soon as its dark red shadow emerged. Immediately, an angry howl was released by the bloody moon devil wolf, accompanied by a wave of sound, easily bouncing his long sword back. "What?" Jian Wushuang said with astonishment. A mere howl was able to deflect his sword art. "Aurora sword art." After a cold humph, Jian Wushuang released all his strength and produced many sword shadows at almost the same time. His sword arts, mixed with a trace of sword principle of Gale, made the sword shadows flash at lightning speed. Thump, thump, thump. The sky was almost filled with the whistling sword light. The bloody moon devil wolf suddenly attacked Jian Wushuang with its extremely sharp claws, which seemed to be able to split the void in two. Pang! Instantly, all the sword shadows disappeared. At the same time, a formidable force was released from the bloody moon devil wolf and transmitted to Jian Wushuang through his long sword, causing him to shiver unconsciously. "It's so powerful that its force alone is enough to block me." Jian Wushuang looked serious. "Watch out," yelled Sima Bu, who was watching and standing in a nearby treetop. Jian Wushuang instantly noticed that the bloody moon devil wolf had already opened its mouth, showing its sharp and bloody fangs, and was preparing to bite off his head. "Fuck off." Along with an angry shout, Jian Wushuang moved his triple-kill sword to generate a kind of heavy boundlessness. He integrated sword essence into his attack and used the sword essence of earth to angrily chop at the bloody moon devil wolf, finally making it step back. Anonymous sword art, Blood Shadow. With his eyes full of killing intent, Jian Wushuang instantly performed the first move of the anonymous sword arts. His use of the anonymous sword art was more powerful after grasping sword essence. The cold and sharp sword light flashed quickly as the bloody moon devil wolf abruptly lunged at him. Ding! A low crash sounded. Then, Jian Wushuang tried to stabilize his body after being repelled. Sword-killing movement. Jian Wushuang released his most powerful killing blow without any hesitation. Showing an angry look in its dark red eyes, the bloody moon devil wolf suddenly stretched out its cold and sharp claws. Clang! A low metal sound crashed, then there was a huge sword scar on the bloody moon devil wolf's paw, from which blood continuously poured out. After staring at Jian Wushuang with its dark red eyes, it shrank down into a blood shadow and fled directly into the jungle, where it disappeared. It escaped. While looking in the direction the bloody moon devil wolf fled, Jian Wushuang withdrew his long sword and displayed a strange expression. "Kid, are you okay?" Sima Bu came over to him and asked. "I'm fine." Jian Wushuang shook his head, but he couldn't help looking at his right hand that was holding his long sword. Actually, he still felt a shiver in his palm. "It is worthy of being called a gold core realm spirit beast. It's much more powerful than me. Though I wounded it with my sword-killing movement during the fight, it also hurt me with the formidable power from its paws," Jian Wushuang murmured. "Kid, you did quite well. You repelled it by using your sword arts. As a spirit beast at the gold core realm, it is definitely more powerful than you," Sima Bu said. "Still not good enough," Jian Wushuang said without any sense of satisfaction. "My swordsmanship still needs to improve, and I'm not flexible enough when using the sword principles of both Gale and Earth. If I could use the third move of the anonymous sword arts, or perfectly combine the sword principles of Gale and Earth, integrating one into the other, I wouldn't have panicked in that fight. Alright, let's continue like this." Jian Wushuang continued practicing his swordsmanship while heading towards his destination. Time flew and 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang and Sima Bu had spent 4 months, 3 months added to the previous month, walking through the dark forest before they finally reached the other side. On the official road to the dark forest in Tiannan province. "Boy, in front of you is Qingdong City." Due to its proximity to the dark forest, the forces of Qingdong City became entangled. Some of them may be the forces of Gold Dragon Palace, and of course, there are also some spies from Bloodfeather Tower. Because of this, you need to keep a low profile when you go into the city. Sima Bu took a conical straw hat from his gold dragon ring, handing it to Jian Wushuang. Carrying the long sword, Jian Wushuang, whose clothes were in tatters, took it and wore it without hesitation. Compared to 4 months ago when he just entered the dark forest, Jian Wushuang obviously appeared a little calmer and his skin had also turned much darker. Because of this, his innocent appearance had vanished. In the city, Jian Wushuang wore a conical straw hat that slightly covered his face. Although he knew that Qingdong City was already within the region of Tiannan Province, and the intelligence system of Bloodfeather Tower was certainly not as good as Tianyan Province, Jian Wushuang was still cautious. Led by Sima Bu, the two quickly arrived in front of a magnificent loft. A gold dragon hovered over the rooftops of the gigantic loft, in front of which 2 men were standing there coldly. Then Sima Bu brought Jian Wushuang inside. A large number of warriors were in the loft and most of them, like Sima Bu, were wearing a gold ring, apparently symbolizing that they were gold dragon guards. "Boy, wait for me for a while. I'm going to turn in the task," Sima Bu said. "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded and then slightly raised his head, looking around at those gold dragon guards, who seemed to be drinking wine and chatting very casually. Yet, he could feel their subtle killing intent.
Brother Bu was right.
Gold dragon guards, all of them are dangerous killers, who often engage in life and death struggles. Jian Wushuang whispered. It took more than 4 months to finally fulfill the task. Sima Bu came back to where Jian Wushuang was, carrying a pot of wine. Then he said, "Boy, I took the task in the first place for the purpose of helping Ji Wuyue. As for bringing you, it was just out of convenience. Now my mission has been completed, so from here on you are on your own. Thank you for all your help in these 4 months, Brother Bu." Jian Wushuang nodded with gratitude deep down inside. Sima Bu really gave him a lot of assistance, and Jian Wushuang secretly kept that favor in mind.
Haha, it's nothing. Oh yes.
What do you intend to do next? Sima Bu looked at him and asked. I want to be a gold dragon guard. Jian Wushuang said directly.
Oh.
Sima Bu smiled and said with a raised brow, I knew that was the choice you would make. Gold dragon guard is an occupation that walks on the edge of life and death, making it easier to hone real experts, dangerous as it is. Besides, judging from your actions in the dark forest, your craziness makes you suitable to be a gold dragon guard. However, the gold dragon guard is divided into several different levels, such as 1-clawed gold dragon guard, 2-clawed gold dragon guard, 3-clawed gold dragon guard, and golden dragon ambassador, which is the highest level. Considering your current strength at most, you can complete the task required to become a 1-clawed gold dragon guard. Yes, I see, said Jian Wushuang while nodding. Jian Wushuang often asked Bu about a variety of things those 4 months in the dark forest. Naturally, that included questions about the gold dragon guard. Gold dragon guard was an occupation with high requirements. To even become a 1-clawed gold dragon guard, the lowest level, one must at least reach the peak of the profound transforming sea realm. In addition, to become a gold dragon guard, you had to complete a task assigned by Gold Dragon Palace. These tasks were extremely difficult and the chance of failure was high. With your current strength, as long as you are careful and not too impulsive, you have the ability to complete the task and become a 1-clawed gold dragon guard. It isn't supposed to be difficult.
Sima Bu laughed.
Witnessing Jian Wushuang's growth, step by step, for 4 months, Sima Bu was definitely aware of his strength. Follow me, I'll take you to sign up and accept the task of a 1-clawed gold dragon guard, said Sima Bu.
Jian Wushuang nodded.
Then Sima Bu brought him to the counter in the attic, in front of which was a gray-robed elder with silver hair and half-squinting his eyes, who looked like he might fall asleep. Mr. Hua, said Sima Bu with reverence. My little brother wants to take on the task of a 1-clawed gold dragon guard. The old man in gray looked up slightly, glancing at Jian Wushuang with his half-squinting eyes, and said indifferently, What's your name? With regard to my name, Jian Wushuang touched his nose, the corners of his mouth curling upwards as he said, Just call me Swordsman.
Swordsman.
Sima Bu cast a glance at Jian Wushuang and burst out in laughter. Take this token and come here again 3 days from now. The gray-robed elder threw a wooden token with a gold dragon mark to Jian Wushuang and then turned around without giving Jian Wushuang a second glance. Is it that simple? Jian Wushuang took the wooden token with great surprise. What do you think? Go, said Sima Bu, smiling as they walked back.
This is Mr. Bu, right?
Haven't seen you for many years. I didn't expect to meet you here today, said someone, with a clear and unpleasant tone of voice. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang saw a black-robed man with a cold face and bird eyes coming over, followed by a purple-haired man. Zhu Tao. Sima Bu picked his eyebrow, coldly smiling as he said, Long time no see. Zhu Tao, his bird eyes flashing with a ray of coldness, then looked to the gray-robed elder by the counter. Mr. Hua, this is my disciple Dongfeng Yu. He is here to accept the task of a 1-clawed gold dragon guard, Zhu Tao said humbly. Take this token and come back here in 3 days. The gray-robed elder still spoke coldly and also gave the purple-haired man a wooden token with the gold dragon mark. Zhu Tao turned around and his eyes swept the room, only to see the wooden token in the hands of Jian Wushuang. The corners of his mouth quirked up as he said indifferently, Mr. Bu, the one who is behind you is your disciple? It seems that he has already taken the task of a 1-clawed gold dragon guard, too.
What a coincidence.
This is one of my little brothers, called Swordsman, not my disciple, Sima Bu said directly. Is he not your disciple? Zhu Tao was laughing, then turned around and looked at the purple-robed man. My disciple, this is your great master Mr. Bu, whom I often mentioned, and the one next to him is one of his little brothers. You may as well say hello to his little brother. After all, you are going to work together to accomplish the 1-clawed gold dragon guard mission.
Yes.
The purple-robed man nodded, then looked directly at Jian Wushuang. The corners of his mouth at this moment quirked up as he said, Swordsman? My name is Dongfeng Yu. I wonder if you have the courage to fight with me.
Fight with you.
Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes and felt a little worried. Sima Bu said in a low voice, Zhu Tao has a history with me and holds a grudge. His strength is not as good as mine, so he does not dare to come to me in person, only sending his disciple to make trouble for you.
Just ignore him.
Is that so? Jian Wushuang knew the reason. While glancing at Dongfeng Yu, he shook his head and said, Sorry, I'm not interested.
How come?
Could it be said that the person Mr. Bu brought here is a coward? Dongfeng Yu said with a cold smile and a loud voice, attracting the attention of the gold dragon guards in the loft. The gold dragon guards looked in their direction and immediately revealed a look of interest. As so many people stared at Jian Wushuang suddenly, he pressed down his conical straw hat with a grim face. Zhu Tao, what do you mean by this? Sima Bu shouted with a cold voice.
Nothing.
I just did not expect that the person Mr. Bu brought here was so arrogant. Whatever the outcome is, we are going to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard together 3 days from now. He is too supercilious to even greet me, replied Zhu Tao, with a sneer. Well, do you mean that no matter who challenge us, we must take it? In that case, I challenge you now. I wonder if you have the courage to fight with me. Sima Bu said with a deep voice.
Haha, Mr. Bu is making a fun of me.
Everyone knows your strength. I dare not fight with you, Zhu Tao said casually.
Joking?
Sima Bu comprehended a glimmer of the blade essence of raging fire. He was even a 3-clawed gold dragon guard, and he was at the peak of the primordial gold core realm. Sima Bu was obviously much stronger than Zhu Tao. Swordsman, will you always hide behind Mr. Bu? Being such a coward, what qualification do you have to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard? Dongfeng Yu said with a sneering smile.
You're right.
Jian Wushuang suddenly looked up with a slight smile. If it is just a greeting, I have no reason to refuse.
Please. Jian Wushuang.
Sima Bu looked over in surprise.
Don't worry.
I know what to do, Jian Wushuang said with a quieter voice. Jian Wushuang accepted the challenge, and it was decided the fighting area would just be the open space of the central hall. In the area with a coverage of dozens of square meters, stood Jian Wushuang and Dongfeng Yu, with a large number of gold dragon guards nearby, happily watching. While standing there, with a long black stick in his hand, Dongfeng Yu exuded a soaring aura.
Long staff.
Jian Wushuang's expression changed as he drew the triple kill sword.
Boy, be careful.
Dongfeng Yu smiled, followed by a quick move, then he instantly rushed over. At this moment, the long stick in his hands turned into a shining black light.
So slow.
Jian Wushuang saw Dongfeng Yu rushing straight over, but he didn't take it seriously. In fact, Dongfeng Yu's burst of speed from the exceptional transforming sea realm was very fast, but compared with Jian Wushuang, who comprehended a trace of the sword essence of Gale, it was indeed a bit too slow. Though it was slow, the power was not weak. I'll use him to put on a good show. Jian Wushuang faintly smiled and suddenly swung the triple kill sword, releasing a whistling sword light that divided the air.
Clang.
The triple kill sword directly collided with that shining black light, making a low-pitched percussion sound. And then the dark light turned into a huge snake, twisting in the air before instantly changing back into the form of a stick, aiming to hit him.
What?
Jian Wushuang seemed to panic as he hurriedly waved the sword to block. But he was still hit by the stick, causing his body and knees to bow. What's more, the serpent form lengthened unexpectedly, as if a large fierce-looking mouth was ferociously opening to bite Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang placed the triple kill sword horizontally across his chest with great effort.
Pong!
A low noise was heard as Jian Wushuang was knocked back, retreating directly to the edge of the open space to keep his balance. Moreover, a trace of blood spilled from his mouth at this moment. What a piece of trash you are! Dongfeng Yu placed the stick upright and said with an indifferent look, You can't even take 3 attacks from my stick, yet you want to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard.
Ridiculous.
After he finished talking, Dongfeng Yu did not bother to glance at Jian Wushuang. Instead, he went toward his great master, Zhu Tao, both looking at each other with a subtle smile. Zhu Tao, your disciple is really good. His stick technique is very strong. Besides, his cultivation has also reached the peak of the exceptional transforming sea realm. Also, his cultivation method seems unusual, and his release of spiritual power was obviously much stronger than the average warrior in the exceptional transforming sea realm. Where did you find such a good disciple? Gold dragon guards acquainted with Zhu Tao were talking with their sights focused on him and Dongfeng Yu, but no one even glanced at Jian Wushuang. After all, in this world, the strong will always be honored. Since Jian Wushuang was defeated and could not even ward off 3 strokes, naturally he could not attract the attention of these gold dragon guards.
Haha.
I'm telling you guys the truth, my disciple is the son of my old friend, and he indeed has a bit of talent. I would like to seize the opportunity to send him to Dragon Palace, but no one recommended him, Zhu Tao said with a laugh.
Dragon Palace?
You intend to send him to Dragon Palace, but no one will recommend him?
Ha ha.
Zhu Tao, your disciple is really good. The Gold Dragon Palace was very noisy because many of the Gold Dragon guards were talking about topics related to Dragon Palace. Jian Wushuang, whom no one noticed, left the crowd's attention quietly, coming to Sima Bu. Sima Bu, who was drinking alone by the table, threw the wine pot to Jian Wushuang when he saw him coming over.
Take a sip, Sima Bu said.
Jian Wushuang caught the wine flask and took a drink without hesitation. He had learned to drink from Sima Bu in the dark forest during the last 4 months. Now, when drinking, he felt comfortable tasting the tangy and piquant flavor. Refreshing, Jian Wushuang could not help commenting. You could have beaten him head-on, so why lose deliberately? Sima Bu laughed with a lowered voice. Though others did not know the strength of Jian Wushuang, Sima Bu was fully aware of it. Apparently, Jian Wushuang lost the fight on purpose. This is, after all, a branch palace of the Gold Dragon Palace. The more people, the more interference. Hence, there may be some spies from Bloodfeather Tower. I have to keep a low profile. As it is now, everyone will focus their attention on Dongfengyu, so no one will pay attention to me. Isn't that good? Jian Wushuang said and laughed.
Ha ha, I understand your intention.
But don't you feel embarrassed being defeated by Dongfengyu in front of so many people, with only 3 strokes? Sima Bu asked again. Compared with my life, losing face is of little significance. Jian Wushuang said, grinning and continuing to drink with his head raised. Having experienced the betrayal of Jian Meng'er and the pursuit from Bloodfeather Tower, Jian Wushuang had become more mature and prudent. He understands when to be tolerant and keep a low profile. Taking the battle with Dongfengyu as an example, if he failed, he would lose face, but if he won, all the people would pay attention to him, and then the rate of exposure for his identity would increase significantly. Well, Brother Bu, do you know anything regarding the Dragon Palace these people have been talking about?
Jian Wushuang asked.
Dragon Palace. When Sima Bu spoke about Dragon Palace, his expression was full of obvious desire. That is the Holy Land for Gold Dragon Palace as well as the Tianzong dynasty. It is a gathering of real talents. It was said that there are countless treasures, like cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. Lots of things that can't be obtained in Tianzong dynasty can be found in Dragon Palace. At the same time, there is a variety of strong and legendary people in the Yinyang Void Realm. Anyone who enters Dragon Palace will receive the best cultivation materials from Tianzong dynasty. But not everyone can be admitted to Dragon Palace to cultivate. In Tianzong dynasty, it is said that all the people in Dragon Palace are exceptional geniuses. So you can understand that only the strongest geniuses can have the opportunity to cultivate inside Dragon Palace. People with average talent are not qualified at all. Jian Wushuang could not help being stunned. Are all of them geniuses? That was to say, any disciple in Dragon Palace would be respectfully treated as a master in Tianzong dynasty. No wonder it was called the Holy Land. Brother Bu, since the qualifications are so harsh, is Dongfengyu qualified to enter Dragon Palace?
Jian Wushuang asked. Of course.
Sima Bu laughed and said, but not everyone can become a disciple and join Dragon Palace. Firstly, he must be recommended by a Golden Dragon ambassador. Secondly, he has to pass the test arranged by Dragon Palace. As for these 2 conditions, not everyone can accomplish the first one. Jian Wushuang understood. The first condition was the recommendation from a Golden Dragon ambassador. But what's the status of a Golden Dragon ambassador? It was known to all that the strongest experts of the Gold Core realm, like Sima Bu, who had a deep understanding of the blade essence of raging fire, were just a 3-clawed Golden Dragon guards. Only the supreme existences could be a Golden Dragon ambassador. That recommendation would be very difficult to get. Zhu Tao has been complaining that his disciple didn't get recommended, but if he really has the talent, there is no need for him to worry about the recommendation.
Look at Mr. Hua at the counter.
If Dongfengyu really is a monster-class talent, why hasn't Mr. Hua recognized him in all this time? And nobody in Golden Dragon's subsidiary palace of Qingdong City except him has the ability to contact a Golden Dragon ambassador. Sima Bu sneered and said. Jian Wushuang looked at the gray-robed elder in front of the counter and smiled. Mr. Hua had his eyes narrowed the whole time and would not even look at Dongfengyu, no matter how much Zhu Tao boasted about him. In fact, Jian Wushuang, if you are willing to work hard in the future with your talent, there is a chance for you to enter Dragon Palace, Sima Bu said.
Me.
Jian Wushuang shook his head. Having stayed at an inn in the Qingdong city for 3 days, Jian Wushuang went back to the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace after the 3 days' wait. Once Jian Wushuang arrived, he immediately saw many people holding the same wooden token, with the same Golden Dragon mark as him, waiting in the hall. That included Zhu Tao's disciple Dongfengyu.
So many people? Jian Wushuang was surprised.
He just came in and didn't have time to find a place to sit down.
Swordsman.
A shadow appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, which turned out to be Dongfengyu. However, Dongfengyu looked at Jian Wushuang with despise at this moment.
How dare you come? Why not? Jian Wushuang asked.
You can't even fight with me for 3 blows. You are such a piece of trash. Did you come here to be killed? Dongfengyu said and laughed. Even if I did, that has nothing to do with you, said Jian Wushuang as he glanced at Dongfengyu. He didn't want to talk with Dongfengyu, because Dongfengyu was just a self-righteous idiot in his eyes. For someone so weak, you shouldn't have such a bad temper, said Dongfengyu with a sneer. Then he thought, boy, once the task begins, do not let me find a chance or... Dongfengyu remembered clearly that his great master asked him to take down anyone who had something to do with Simabu. Jian Wushuang sat at a table alone, but not long after, a black-haired man walked towards him.
You are swordsman, right?
The man asked, smiling at him and showing great passion.
Who are you?
Jian Wushuang looked at him and asked the man. I am Ling Tianhao, but you can also call me Mouse. I came here to finish the task to become a one-clawed golden dragon guard, just like you. The man opened his palm, showing a wooden token with the golden dragon mark. Is there something you want? Jian Wushuang asked coldly.
Of course.
Ling Tianhao looked at Jian Wushuang and asked, is this your first time accepting the task for a one-clawed golden dragon guard?
Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded.
This is my 3rd time. Ling Tianhao sighed and said, my strength was not enough, so I was unable to finish my task the other 2 times, only managing a narrow escape. If I can't finish the 3rd time, I will never become a golden dragon guard. Jian Wushuang fell into silence. He knew that a person could only accept the task for one-clawed golden dragon guard 3 times. If he failed all 3 times, he would never be qualified to become a golden dragon guard. I want to cooperate with you. When the task begins, let's work together.
Ling Tianhao said. Oh.
Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. Cooperate.
Don't hesitate.
Ling Tianhao continued speaking. I know that you fought with Dongfengyu 3 days ago, and you didn't even last for 3 exchanges. You are one of the weakest out of all the people attempting this task, just like me. So if you work alone, you will be killed before you even have a chance of finishing the task.
You are right.
I will cooperate with you. Jian Wushuang said and nodded.
Haha, that's right.
Follow me, I will introduce a backer to you. Ling Tianhao pulled Jian Wushuang along as he left.
Backer.
Although Jian Wushuang was doubtful, Ling Tianhao brought him to meet a red-haired girl.
Boss Yin, this is Brother Swordsman.
He will work with us later. Ling Tianhao smiled at the playful girl.
Swordsman.
The girl looked at Jian Wushuang and said, I know that you fought with Dongfengyu here 3 days ago, and you didn't last 3 strikes. Yes, that is true. Jian Wushuang touched his nose without denying it. I am Yin Min. You can call me Boss Yin, like Mouse does. From now on, if you work with me, I can guarantee that no one will dare to bully you, said the playful girl, Yin Min, patting her chest. Jian Wushuang thought that Yin Min was just boasting, but he still called out, Boss Yin.
Yeah.
Yin Min nodded without saying anything further. At that moment, Ling Tianhao said to Jian Wushuang quietly, Brother Swordsman, we are so lucky to have the backup of Boss Yin. Of course, this is because of our relationship with Dongfengyu. Otherwise, I am afraid that Boss Yin would not help us.
Oh? What do you mean?
Jian Wushuang asked quickly. Well, maybe you don't know, but that Dongfengyu is the sworn enemy of Boss Yin.
They both also fought each other once.
I quickly came to ask for her help after hearing that, and she agreed without any hesitation after knowing about the hatred between me and Dongfengyu. As for you, Boss Yin would allow you to work with us because many people know that you were defeated by Dongfengyu in only 3 strikes, Ling Tianhao said. Is there any animosity between you and Dongfengyu? Jian Wushuang looked at Ling Tianhao. It's just a trivial matter, but I just really don't like Dongfengyu, Ling Tianhao said. Jian Wushuang was doubtful and asked, is Boss Yin's strength very powerful? Of course, she would not even lose a fight with Dongfengyu. She is the strongest, aside from Dongfengyu, among all the people who accepted the task for one-clawed golden dragon guard, Ling Tianhao said. Is that true? It seems that we have found a good backer. Jian Wushuang smiled mysteriously and showed his interest. At that moment, the gray-robed elder in front of the counter, Mr. Hua, came out. Time's up. Now follow me everyone, Mr. Hua said, leading everyone directly out of the city. After they were out of Qingdong City, Mr. Hua continued to lead everyone, walking in one direction for most of the day without stopping. Mouse, since you have accepted the task for one-clawed golden dragon guard twice, do you know where he is leading us to?
Jian Wushuang asked. I don't know.
Ling Tianhao shook his head, then continued speaking. The task from the Golden Dragon Palace is different every time. Only after we arrive at the designated place will we be informed of what the task is. So, we have no choice but to follow him now. What were your previous 2 tasks? Jian Wushuang continued his questioning.
I'm sorry.
I can't tell you about the previous tasks, Ling Tianhao said.
Why not?
Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Because that is the rule of Golden Dragon Palace. Any task from the Golden Dragon Palace is prohibited from being leaked out, and anyone who is found leaking it would likely be executed immediately. Ling Tianhao said seriously, but I can tell you that those 2 tasks were extremely dangerous. It was only with good luck that I was able to survive because most of the people were dead by the time the tasks were completed. After hearing this, Jian Wushuang wore a serious expression. They continued walking for 2 hours before they arrived at a big valley, where Mr. Hu stopped. Have we arrived? Jian Wushuang and the others looked around, but all they could see was the vast landscape surrounding them and the huge valley. They could not clearly see what was in the valley. Mr. Hua, you are really slow. A cold voice was heard as a lofty shadow appeared in front of them. It came from a middle-aged man who had a long red robe and a cold expression. His eyebrows were able to display majesty without losing his temperament. While holding his hands behind his back, he looked over at everyone present with profound eyes. Everything and everyone fell into complete silence when that man appeared. Jian Wushuang, Dongfang Yu, Yin Min, and everyone else who had accepted the one-clawed Golden Dragon Guard task opened their eyes wide, looking at the man in great shock. Not because of how powerful and awesome his aura was, but because the man was floating in front of them.
Yes, floating.
Floating in the air. Yingyang Void Realm. It's a supreme expert in the Yingyang Void Realm. A legendary existence. All the people intently stared at him as he walked through the air. It was evident that the man was a supreme expert who had entered the Yingyang Void Realm. The Yingyang Void Realm? Jian Wushuang pressed his hands tightly together as his eyes shined brilliantly. The Yingyang Void Realm had always been a legend. There were not many experts like him, and it was the first time for Jian Wushuang to see an expert at this level. Golden Dragon Ambassador. Even the enigmatic Mr. Hua showed respect to the man and kept a low profile. Since you are finally here, we can start working, the man standing in the air said in a low voice.
As you wish, sir.
Mr. Hua nodded continuously. Upon hearing this, the old man turned around and suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight. What speed is that? All these people who had not even reached the primordial gold core realm were stunned when they saw this scene.
So fast.
Although I am also very fast due to my understanding of the sword essence of Gale, I am just like a snail compared to this Golden Dragon Ambassador, Wushuang thought. A few loud voices came out from the vast valley as soon as the Golden Dragon Ambassador disappeared. Who is that? This is the land of our Tianhuan sect. Who are you? You should leave now. Which expert has come to our Tianhuan sect? The vast valley was the base of the sect. When the Golden Dragon Ambassador was seen intruding into it, a loud warning came out from the valley. But after the expert in that sect learned that the man was a Yingyang Void Realm expert who could void walk, his tone became very respectful. At this time, a deafening sound was heard in that vast valley.
Tianhuan sect?
How dare you plot against the Golden Dragon Ambassador from our Golden Dragon Palace? Today is the end of your Tianhuan sect.
Boom.
A severe explosive sound, like one would only hear during doomsday, burst and erupted from within the deep valley, around which a terrifying and horrible aura was simultaneously released. Afterwards, dozens of roars suddenly sounded from inside.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
Severe crashes continuously burst out from the depths of the valley, seemingly causing the heavens and earth to tremble. No one knew what was happening there, including Jian Wushuang and others, who stood in astonishment outside the valley. All of them couldn't help holding their breath through the dozens of earth-shaking roars. It was not long before the valley suddenly became tranquil. Whoosh! The middle-aged man with a powerful aura reappeared among them. After glancing at Mr. Hua, he said, all 14 masters of the Tianhuan sect, in the Gold Core Realm, are dead. You know what to do next. Yes, Mr. Hua nodded respectfully. Little guys, try your best. The middle-aged man said as he smiled again at the group and then left in the direction of Qingdong City. All the trainees lost focus as they stared at the middle-aged man. Only after he had completely disappeared did they begin to gradually regain control of their thoughts. Suddenly, Mr. Hua announced with a muffled voice, now I will tell you the task. Listen carefully. All the trainees in the area made sure to listen thoroughly. The core of the Tianhuan sect, a second-rate sect in Tianan province, is located in the valley in front of you. There are 14 masters, who are experts in the Gold Core Realm, and many disciples in the Spiritual Sea Realm. However, the 14 masters have already been killed by the Golden Dragon Ambassador, said Mr. Hua. Everyone was shocked into silence. The 14 experts in the Gold Core realm? In such a short time? They were killed? Amazing. All the expert in the Gold Core realm were killed in such a short time? So powerful, that is true strength. Everyone was so excited and they felt their blood begin to boil, even Jian Wushuang. Though the masters are defeated, there are many disciples in the spiritual sea realm and the spirit path. The latter ones can be ignored, but you need to obtain the 10 interspatial rings printed with the symbol of the Tianhuan sect. They are worn by the disciples in the spiritual sea realm. To succeed, each one of you needs to seize one of those rings. Do you understand? Mr. Hua asked while looking around. All the trainees in the area understood. Only those who obtain one of the interspatial rings will be able to complete the mission, right? This mission doesn't seem so difficult. Someone in the area suddenly murmured. Only 10 interspatial rings, said Yin Min, frowning slightly. This mission is more dangerous than the previous ones. Ling Tianhao couldn't help scolding them. Absolutely dangerous. Jian Wushuang wore a grim expression on his face as he spoke. This mission. To start with, the numerous warriors in the spiritual sea realm in the sect would fight with all their power. But more importantly, there were only 10 rings and over 30 trainees present. Yet, one ring could only be used by one trainee. In other words, over 2/3 of the trainees were doomed to fail. And those who failed to obtain an interspatial ring, in order to complete the mission, would have to fight with the other trainees. It could also be said that they should pay equal attention to both the spiritual sea realm disciples in the Tianhuan sect as well as the other trainees from their side. Mr. Hua said, now that you know the mission, it's time to get started. Let's go. Kill. The trainees that were already prepared immediately rushed towards the valley. Jian Wushuang and his companions quickly rushed out as well. Whoosh. After leaping rapidly across the ground, 3 people quickly came into view of the great sect gate in the middle of the valley. The Tianhuan sect fell into a panic and loud noises could be heard from every corner. Both of you stay close to me. If you move too far away, it's quite possible that you will lose your lives, said Yin Min, glancing at Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao. Okay, said Jian Wushuang with a nod. Understood. Ling Tianhao also answered and nodded, with a grim expression. Hey Yin Min, it's rare for you to look so serious, right? A voice was suddenly heard. Then, Dongfeng Yu appeared with his 5 followers behind him. Yin Min disdained him and said nothing. Dongfeng Yu didn't lose his temper. Glancing at Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao, he laughed and then said, Yin Min, look at your 2 companions. One is joining the One-Clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission for the 3rd time and the other was defeated by me within less than 3 moves. You actually dared to team up with these 2. This has nothing to do with you. Piss off. Yin Min directly scolded him. Dongfeng Yu's expression became quite serious, but he quickly recovered. Ignoring Yin Min, he turned his eyes towards Jian Wushuang, laughing at him as he said, Hey kid, watch out for your life during this dangerous mission. After all, trash like you can easily die inside the Tianhuan sect. Then Dongfeng Yu and his followers quickly rushed inside the Tianhuan sect. What? Jian Wushuang thought. He watched with a weird expression as Dongfeng Yu left. At the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace, I didn't want to risk being noticed by people from Bloodfeather Tower. Because of that, I pretended to lose. But I didn't expect him to look down on me so much. Jian Wushuang touched his nose and shook his head with a smile. Then, he immediately raced towards the Tianhuan sect together with Yin Min and Ling Tianhao. The moment they stepped into the Tianhuan sect, the warriors in the sect sensed their arrival. Damn, people from the Golden Dragon Palace came to exterminate my Tianhuan sect. Keep dreaming. I grew up in the Tianhuan sect. My whole life is here. If you plan to destroy my sect, you will have to step over my dead body first. Kill them. Kill them. Kill all the invaders. Stay with the sect. Many loud roars could be heard in the Tianhuan sect. They had cultivated many loyal warriors. Though the 14 experts of the Gold Core realm were dead, the warriors and disciples in the spiritual sea realm chose to stay with the sect and fight for it, instead of escaping. Therefore, numerous disciples in the spiritual sea realm, from the Tianhuan sect, madly rushed towards the invaders. A violent fight was about to erupt. The large group of trainees who had accepted the mission immediately split up after entering the Tianhuan sect. Some teamed up while others began rampaging alone. The disciples of the Tianhuan sect also rose up in resistance. Jian Wushuang and his companions had just arrived in one of the yards in the Tianhuan sect when they saw tens of shadows charging at them, all of them in the spiritual sea realm. You 2 follow me closely, Yin Min ordered coldly. Gripping her scarlet long spear, she immediately dashed forward. Jian Wushuang nodded at Ling Tianhao and followed Yin Min, his expression a little cold. Invaders. The sight of these three instantly triggered the killing intent of the Tianhuan sect disciples.
Kill them.
Tens of shadows rushed toward them.
Swish.
A blurry spear shadow charged towards them, like a viper sticking out its tongue at its prey. For a moment, the lightning-fast spear seemed to create an environment in which snowflakes were gently falling. It gave the spear a poignant feeling. Slash 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 slash. The spear pierced 5 necks at once, leaving 5 corpses collapsed on the ground.
This skill.
Jian Wushuang couldn't help being surprised when he saw this. These disciples of the Tianhuan sect were only in the initial and profound spiritual sea realm. So it was not hard for Yin Min, in the exceptional spiritual sea realm, to kill them. But it was so much more difficult to kill 5 with one strike. What Yin Min demonstrated earlier caused his eyes to light up.
Kill.
The death of their fellow disciples didn't slow down the remaining ones. They rushed forward and launched a series of attacks towards Jian Wushuang and his companions. Jian Wushuang swung the triple-kill sword in his hand at 2 disciples. With 2 clean slashes, he easily ended the lives of the 2, who were only in the initial spiritual sea realm. Holding his dark dagger, Ling Tianhao quietly stabbed the disciples charging at him. He was incredibly fast in killing 2 of them. The rest were all killed by Yin Min. It took mere moments for the tens of Tianhuan sect disciples to meet their death.
They're too weak.
Jian Wushuang could not help sighing when he saw all the dead bodies on the ground. The Tianhuan sect was considered a second-rate sect in the Tiannan province, yet it was far more powerful than Sword Marquee Mansion. But after the deaths of their 14 gold core realm experts, the ending was basically written in stone. The remaining disciples were all in the spiritual sea realm, with a majority in the initial and profound level. Rarely were any of them at the exceptional level. Unfortunately for them, those who accepted this mission were all at the exceptional level. They also possessed their own personal techniques. After all, anyone who accepted this mission despite knowing its extreme danger would certainly come prepared. Ling Tianhao, for example, might be one of the weakest among the participants who accepted the mission. But if you put him among the Tianhuan sect disciples who were at the exceptional spiritual sea realm, few could defeat him. None of the people I killed has an interspatial ring. What about you guys? Yin Min asked, looking over at them.
None here.
Jian Wushuang shook his head.
Me neither.
Ling Tianhao shrugged. This didn't come as a big surprise to them. After all, there were only a total of 10 rings. For how precious and rare they were, they ought to be at least worn by disciples in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. And none of those that they killed were at that level.
Let's go, Yin Min said.
The 3 of them then walked toward the depths of the Tianhuan sect. They did not even glance at the corpses on the ground. Though they felt sympathy for the Tianhuan sect disciples, they would never show any mercy in a fight. After all, they were on different sides. If they showed mercy, then the corpses lying on the ground would be theirs. Inside an underground secret room in the Tianhuan sect, there were 8 people wearing robes standing inside the room, wearing copper masks that only showed their eyes. A person wearing a black robe and a silver mask sat on a stone chair.
Thud.
The door to the secret room opened and a purple-haired old man came running in panicking. He shouted anxiously, "Please, my lords. I beg you, help save our Tianhuan sect." The one wearing a silver mask looked up, revealing his pair of cold eyes as he looked at the purple-haired old man. He said indifferently, "What's going on outside?"
They're here.
Men from Golden Dragon Palace are here. There are many warriors in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. Not only that, our leader and many of our elders are already dead. We don't have a single expert in the Gold Core realm that is still alive. We simply can't hold up against those warriors, so please help us. The old man didn't even finish his sentence before he collapsed on the ground with a bloodstain on his neck. Beside him, a man wearing a copper mask was slowly sheathing his sword. "My lord, what should we do next?" a copper-masked servant asked. 3 years ago, the Tianhuan sect leaked some information, scheming against a Golden Dragon ambassador. It was supposed to be a secret, but it was still discovered by the Golden Dragon Palace. Their intelligence work is truly amazing. The man with the silver mask continued coldly. Since it has been discovered, the Tianhuan sect is bound to be exterminated. As for us, naturally it's best if we can avoid exposing ourselves. Those who were sent here now are only in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. If I estimate correctly, they're part of a one-clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission. Those rookies may not even discover this place if we stay here. And if they really do end up finding us, the Golden Dragon Ambassador would already be gone by then. Without the Golden Dragon Ambassador hindering us, it's impossible for those rookies to stand in our way. They were all afraid of the Golden Dragon Ambassador, who was in the Yin Yang Void Realm. The man with the silver mask was not an exception. When the Golden Dragon ambassador was fighting with others, he did not discover them because the robed men were good at hiding their auras and were hidden in this secret room. In his opinion, the high and mighty Golden Dragon ambassador would no be so bored as to stay back and watch the rookies wrap up the mission after he finished killing all the Gold Core Realm experts. But what a pity that the extermination of the Tianhuan sect means we've lost a chess piece. The man wearing the silver mask shook his head and sighed. The black robe and that facial mask. They were obvious symbols of Blood Feather Tower, the strongest assassination association of the Tianzong dynasty. In the Tianhuan sect, Qi. A long spear stabbed through the throat of a Tianhuan sect disciple without making a sound. Then, with an abrupt sweep, it heavily hacked towards 2 more disciples, making them step back. If you don't want to be killed, then leave. Yin Min, a nifty girl with a long spear in her hands, wore a cold expression while criticizing them. However, several Tianhuan sect disciples ignored her words and lunged at her, immediately attacking with their knives and swords. Kill them, Yin Min said in a cold voice. A flash of coldness appeared in the eyes of Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao, but suddenly, a cold voice and 3 auras rushed into the battle. These cultivators were stronger than previous Tianhuan sect disciples. 3 people at the level of exceptional spiritual C. The arrival of these 3 caused Jian Wushuang's expression to change. Since they came to the Tianhuan sect, they had encountered 3 groups of Tianhuan sect disciples who just reached the level of profound spiritual C realm and the initial realm. They had yet to encounter a single disciple at the exceptional spiritual C realm, not to mention encountering 3 of them at the same time. You two protect yourselves, Yin Min said in a low voice. Then, the long spear in her hands danced through the air like flashing stars and drifting snow as it struck towards 2 of the disciples at the exceptional spiritual C realm. Howsy, mouse, leave the exceptional spiritual C realm disciple to me. As for the others, it's up to you to handle them, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. Yes, Ling Tianhao said and nodded. Although he had to fight against several Tianhuan sect disciples at the same time, these disciples were only at the level of profound spiritual C realm or initial spiritual C realm and were no threat to him. Those 3 at the exceptional spiritual C realm, that could threaten him, had been blocked by Yin Min and Jian Wushuang. How dare you 2 guys block me? Yin Min laughed loudly and then she furiously hacked towards the 2 people at exceptional spiritual C realm with the long red spear, blasting them with hazy spear shadows. Both of them realized how ruthless and tyrannical Yin Min was as they fended her off with all their strength. However, they were no match for Yin Min's spear skills. Though fighting against 2 enemies, Yin Min still gained the upper hand. Be careful, she is strong, said a person at exceptional spiritual C realm, seriously. She is only at the level of exceptional spiritual C realm. Why should we be afraid of her when we have a 2-to-1 advantage? Let's kill her. The other one sniffed and then they lunged at Yin Min again. A giant axe was shown in front of Yin Min and hacked towards her. Meanwhile, a flash of dark gold sword light appeared in front of Yin Min, traveling 10 meters in an instant. How ridiculous! Yin Min laughed as the look in her eyes abruptly turned cold. Divine spear of dripping blood. Clang! 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 2 flashes of spear shadows struck out successively, faster than those 2 people expected. And then, those 2 flashes of spear shadows stabbed into the area between the eyebrows of both disciples, immediately killing them. Good girl, Yin Min has a good command of her spearmanship. Jian Wushuang was still fighting with the other disciple at exceptional spiritual C realm. But he saw everything that happened, especially when Yin Min killed other 2 disciples at exceptional spiritual C realm on her own. It seems that I should also show a little bit of my ability. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly while looking at his enemy. Die. Only Jian Wushuang could hear his light voice. The disciple at exceptional spiritual C realm saw a flash of cold sword light in front of him, rapidly approaching his eyes. It was too fast for him to resist, quickly piercing through his throat. Meanwhile, Ling Tianhao also defeated his enemies. Swordsman, not bad. How did you kill someone at exceptional spiritual C realm on your own? Yin Min asked while looking at Jian Wushuang with startled eyes. Haha. I just have a good luck, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Really? Yin Min raised her eyebrow but didn't continue asking. Go and see if any of them have an interspatial ring, said Yin Min. It only took a moment for Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao to check them. No. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Nothing here either. Ling Tianhao also shook his head. It seems that we really have bad luck. We have killed so many Tianhuan sect's disciples, even 3 people at exceptional spiritual C realm, but we still didn't find an interspatial ring, Yin Min said with a wry smile. Pang! Suddenly, a wall on the perimeter of the courtyard shattered as a pitiful figure heavily landed on the ground. It was a white-haired old man, who vomited a mouthful of blood after falling on the ground. Then, he stood up and immediately tried to escape. Where are you trying to escape to? Four figures appeared behind the white-haired old man, chasing after him. Jian Wushuang had seen these 4 people receive the Golden Dragon Guard task together with him. Jian Wushuang's group of 3 felt surprised when they saw these 4 people chasing the white-haired old man who wore a lilac ring on his right ring finger. That's an interspatial ring. He has an interspatial ring. Let's do it. Without any hesitation, all 3 rushed in front of the white-haired old man, among whom Yin Min arrived first. She ruthlessly struck out with the long spear as if trying to pierce through everything in the world. What? The white-haired old man had already encountered a major battle that left him seriously injured, but now he was being chased by 4 people. He was already in a desperate situation and he didn't expect to encounter even more people from the Golden Dragon Palace. The white-haired old man felt hopeless when he saw the ruthless spear stabbing towards him. Chi! The spear stabbed through the white-haired old man. Then the spear cut off his right ring finger and made it fly up. Yin Min reached out to grasp the amputated finger and the lilac ring on it as it fell directly into her hand. The first interspatial ring. Seeing this, both Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao smiled. However, on the other side, the expressions of the 4 people who had chased the white-haired old man before suddenly turned dark. Hand over the ring. That interspatial ring belongs to us. Don't speak nonsense, kill her immediately. Boom. 4 figures tried to kill Yin Min at the same time. **T. The complexions of both Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao changed. Although they had known that they might need to kill people from their own side during the task, they didn't expect these people to attack without any hesitation. Get out of here. Seeing those 4 people rushing towards her, Yin Min angrily howled and raised the red long spear up high, hacking towards them with amazing power. The heavy spear shadow immediately swept towards those 4 people. What? Those 4 people changed their faces while resisting Yin Min's spear. Then, the 4 people were knocked back over 10 meters by Yin Min before they regained their footing. Whoosh! Whoosh! Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao immediately appeared beside Yin Min. Do you want to kill people on your own side? Jian Wushuang said in a cold voice. That interspatial ring should have belonged to us, but you guys snatched it. Those 4 people all had grim expressions as a burly man. The leader of them growled, if you guys are wise, then hand over the interspatial ring or we'll. Otherwise. Yin Min sneered and said, more than 30 people received the task, but only 10 interspatial rings exist. That means most of the people can't complete the task. This is a competition between us and the interspatial ring is in my hand. If you want to grab it, just come try. But who will get the ring hasn't been decided yet. Those 4 burly men felt unpleasant. They had just fought with Yin Min and realized that Yin Min's strength was stronger than any of them. Even killing 2 of them on her own was a piece of cake. Besides her, there were Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao. They would probably suffer if they fought with them. Let's go. The burly man snorted and then those 4 people reluctantly left. Jian Wushuang and other 2 couldn't help laughing when they saw the group leaving. It's lucky for them to leave, otherwise it's possible 1 or 2 of them would be killed by me and swordsman, not to mention Sister Yin. Fighting against 3 on her own is no problem at all, Ling Tianhao said with a smile. Fighting against 3 on my own? Yin Min shook her head and said, you think too highly of me. Those who dare to receive a Golden Dragon Guard task are stronger than we imagine. Fighting 2 is possible, but 3 is not realistic. All right. Don't talk about it anymore. We have been fighting for a long time, now we finally have an interspatial ring. Give this one to me, and if we obtain more interspatial ring, they will belong to you too. How's it? Yin Min turned to Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao. No problem, Jian Wushuang said and nodded. Of course I agree, replied Ling Tianhao with a smile. It was obvious that Yin Min was the biggest contributor to the battle. She was also the oldest among them, so giving the first ring to her was only proper. Okay, let's go on. It hasn't been long since the slaughter started, so we have many opportunities to find more interspatial rings, Yin Min said. Yes. Both Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao agreed and nodded. The slaughter in the Tianhuan sect continued, becoming even crazier as time passed. Jian Wushuang and other 2 had already been in the Tianhuan sect for an hour. Jian Wushuang and other 2 suddenly looked up from the corridor and saw a fierce battle ahead of them. There were 2 sides in the battle. One side, disciples of the Tianhuan sect, and on the other side, their acquaintances that also came for the Golden Dragon Palace task. It's those 4, Jian Wushuang said. Those people fighting against the Tianhuan sect disciples were the stout man and his 3 companions that they had just met. The first interspatial ring Yin Min got was from them. They are in a bad situation, Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. They could clearly see that those 4 people were in a bad situation because over 20 Tianhuan sect disciples were fighting against them. Among them were 5 disciples at exceptional spiritual sea realm. These 4 guys are really unlucky. It's unbelievable they were attacked by so many Tianhuan sect disciples, Yin Min said and sneered.
Look.
Sister Yin and swordsman, that man's right hand, Ling Tianhao suddenly exclaimed. Jian Wushuang and Yin Min looked in the direction Ling Tianhao pointed. They saw a Tianhuan sect disciple at exceptional spiritual sea realm wearing a lilac ring on his right index finger. An interspatial ring. Yin Min felt surprised and said, haha, the second interspatial ring has appeared.
Let's do it.
First, we'll join hands with those 4 men to kill the Tianhuan sect disciples, then we grab the interspatial ring.
Yes.
Both Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao agreed and nodded. The 3 of them immediately rushed into the battle. 3 more bastards.
Kill them.
The Tianhuan sect disciples were crazy with bloodlust, immediately attacking Jian Wushuang and the other 2 as soon as they saw them. The pressure on the other 4 who had been under siege this whole time was suddenly reduced by a large amount.
It's them.
The stout man changed his face after seeing Jian Wushuang and quickly said, run. We should get away while the Tianhuan sect disciples are fighting with them.
What?
The other 3 men froze.
Why should we leave?
If we join hands with them, it is completely possible to kill all these Tianhuan sect disciples and grab the interspatial ring, a purple-dressed woman asked. Our alliance surely can kill all of the Tianhuan sect disciples. But after that? Can we get the interspatial ring? Don't forget that Yin Min just defeated us on her own. There is also swordsman and that Ling Tianhao who has reached the exceptional spiritual sea realm. We are no match for them at all if we fight against them, the stout man said with a chilly expression. Instead of joining hands with them and then letting them take the interspatial ring, it would be better leave now and observe them secretly. After they finish the life and death struggle against the Tianhuan sect disciples, we can show up and obtain the ring without any effort.
Good idea.
Both sides will suffer great losses in such a fierce battle. Whoever wins the battle will be weakened, and then we can easily defeat either side at that time.
I agree too.
The other 3 soon agreed with the stout man. Since all of you have agreed, let's go, said the sturdy man, as a chilling smile appeared on his face. Then he quickly turned around and disappeared into the corridor with his companions, leaving Jian Wushuang and the other 2 to fight with the pack of Tianhuan sect disciples.
Bastards. Damn it.
Seeing that, Yin Min and Ling Tianhao cursed in rage with a peevish expression on their faces.
This is troublesome.
Jian Wushuang also felt a little worried. Including those 4, along with Jian Wushuang, Yin Min and Ling Tianhao, if these 7 exceptional spiritual sea realm masters fought together, they would easily defeat these Tianhuan sect disciples. However, with those 4 leaving, the remaining 3 had to fight with 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples, a dozen profound spiritual sea realm and initial spiritual sea realm Tianhuan sect disciples. The situation was instantly at its worst. Haha, your companions seem to have abandoned you. Poor guys, prepare to get trashed. All the disciples of the Tianhuan sect laughed at Jian Wushuang and the other 2, lunging at them directly. Swordsman Haozi Mouse, let's fight. Yin Min shouted to Jian Wushuang and desperately rushed into the battlefield. I'll take 3 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples. I'll count on you to handle the rest too, several profound spiritual sea realm and initial realm disciples, Yin Min said in a deep voice. It was her ultimate limit to fight with 3 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples at the same time. Let me take these 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples. Jian Wushuang's words surprised Yin Min. Before she could reply, Jian Wushuang ran in front of her with amazing speed and collided with the Tianhuan sect disciples. Whoosh! Suddenly a bright dazzling sword light swept across the 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples simultaneously. What? How dare he fight with all 5 of us at the same time? He must be suicidal.
Kill him.
Those 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples became furious and lunged towards Jian Wushuang. But when the dazzling sword light swept, zooming, the horrible sword essence rose suddenly and sharply. Watch out! The 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples hurriedly changed from attack to defense. But when they came into contact with the sword light, these 5 figures fell back with 5 loud thumps. Shoop! 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 The wild sword shadows almost instantaneously spurted from Jian Wushuang's hands. The amazing speed of Aurora swordsmanship had soared to an incredible level ever since Jian Wushuang comprehended the sword essence of Gale.
It's so fast. Amazing. Be careful.
The Tianhuan disciples shouted with voices full of fear. Although the 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples tried their best to withstand the sword shadows were too fast and arrived too quickly. Even though the sword shadows swept to 5 of them at the same time, it was still too fast to resist. Clang, 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 clang. The sounds of clanks were heard one after another. The 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples were hit by dozens of sword attacks, and 3 of them seemed to be unable to parry. Beep. A sword flash swept towards the throat of those 3 disciples. Chi. The 3 figures immediately fell backward. Damn it. Run. Seeing that, the Tianhuan sect disciples began escaping crazily with almost no hesitation. The 2 remaining exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples also lost the courage to fight with Jian Wushuang. The only thing they could do was run. He's too strong. Even with 5 of us together, his swordsmanship was so fast that he killed 3 of us in the blink of an eye. We'll all die here if we do not run. The 2 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples were aware of the insurmountable gap between Jian Wushuang and them. Naturally, they did not dare to fight with Jian Wushuang anymore. Run. A cold voice without a hint of emotion rang out near one of the exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples. The disciple raised his head in horror, only to find Jian Wushuang standing in front of him and the triple kill sword stuck in him. No. The disciple only had time to make an unwilling roar before he was immediately killed. You are the owner of the interspatial ring. I can't let you get away from me. After killing the exceptional spiritual sea realm disciple, Jian Wushuang grinned and took the interspatial ring off the disciple's finger. As for the Tianhuan sect disciples that escaped, Jian Wushuang was not in the mood to chase after them. Swordsman! Swordsman! Jian Wushuang turned his head, finding Yin Min and Ling Tianhao with stunned expressions on their faces that were hard to describe. Jian Wushuang stroked his nose and then laughed in his sleeve. Last time, he deliberately lost to Dongfengyu so he would not stand out, making people think he was weak. And during the mission this time, he still hadn't found a good chance to prove his ability because of Yin Min. He had finally reached the point where he could not hide it anymore. His strength shocked Yin Min and Ling Tianhao. Jian Wushuang killed 4 real exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples in an instant. What kind of strength was that? Yin Min knew that if she fought against 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples, she could barely resist for a while before eventually losing. In the end, she would die even if she killed one of 2 of them by risking her life. Which meant that Jian Wushuang's strength was much more tremendous than hers. Haha, swordsman, I admire you so much. When Ling Tianhao regained himself, he laughed and gave Jian Wushuang a bear hug. Swordsman, you hid your strength this whole time? Yin Min asked seriously. Yes, Jian Wushuang said and nodded. There was no sense in denying it now. You fought with 5 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples on your own and killed 4 of them in a short time. This level of strength is not something me or Dongfeng can compare with. Swordsman, you disguised yourself pretty well, Yin Min said with a smile. The 4 who abandoned Jian Wushuang, Yin Min, and Ling Tianhao, gloating as they were surrounded by the Tianhuan sect disciples, were still very close. They were hiding in a room near the courtyard and heard everything Jian Wushuang and Yin Min said. You'll see, even though Yin Min boasts immense strength, there is a large number of Tianhuan sect disciples at the level of profound spiritual sea realm and initial realm, as well as 5 disciples at exceptional spiritual sea realm. This kind of battle will definitely make them suffer, the stout man said gloatingly. But only a short while later they saw Jian Wushuang kill 4 of the exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples swiftly and cruelly, while the remaining Tianhuan sect disciples fled. The 4 of them were stunned. It's impossible. Unbelievable. That swordsman, how could he be so strong? I can't believe that he killed 4 exceptional spiritual sea realm disciples in such a short time. How could that happen? The 4 of them felt it was impossible. Meanwhile, they recalled the words they heard in Golden Dragon's subsidiary palace. It was about Dongfengyu defeating Jian Wushuang in only 3 moves. Today we personally witnessed swordsman's strength. How was it possible that he couldn't resist Dongfengyu? You must be kidding me. I would rather believe that Dongfengyu was defeated by him in 3 moves, roared the stout man. How could his incredible strength be overcome by Dongfengyu in 3 moves? That was ridiculous. It is a relief that we didn't have a real conflict with them, or, the stout man spoke in a relaxing tone. He counted himself fortunate to have never turned against Yin Min, even when she took interspatial ring away from him. He felt terrified when he thought of Jian Wushuang's immense power. Go! Be quick, the stout man roared. We should keep away from these 3 people until the mission is finished. All in all, we used them just now, and they might hold a grudge against us. I'm afraid that they will fight against us next time. Go! Hurry up! The others nodded and intended to escape in panic. Hey, do you see that? Said the woman in purple. The strong man turned his head at once. Suddenly his expression became weird. It's them. It's Dongfengyu and his followers. They arrived just now and met swordsman just in time. The four were just about ready to leave, but at this moment their steps suddenly stopped. On the corridor, Jian Wushuang and his companions also noticed Dongfang Yu and his followers.
It's Dongfang Yu.
Yin Min and Ling Tianhao glanced at Jian Wushuang with queer complexions. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and smiled slightly but said nothing. Dongfang Yu, you are like a ghost, constantly haunting us, Yin Min said in a cold voice and cast a glance towards Dongfang Yu. Yin Min, I'm surprised that the two trash following you are still alive.
Lucky guys.
Dongfang Yu appeared in front of them, speaking with an arrogant voice. Let's get to the point. Yin Min, since you guys have been in the Tianhuan sect for a while now, I bet you have an interspatial ring, right? Interspatial ring? Yin Min said with a sneer. Then she stretched out her right hand as a light purple ring shined dazzlingly on her fourth finger. Here it is. If you want it, come and take it. At the sight of the interspatial ring on Yin Min's hand, the eyes of the five people behind Dongfang Yu brightened and a flash of heat appeared in their eyes.
Oh, you really do have one.
But only one ring. Dongfang Yu sneered at her and turned his head to his five followers.
Then he said, let's go.
The people following Dongfang Yu hesitated, but eventually they left with him. However, Dongfang Yu glanced at Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao as he left and said in a low voice, you two trash are very lucky to have Yin Min as your pillar. But there are only 10 interspatial rings. Even I only managed to get one of them. How dare you expect to get them? Dongfang Yu left once he finished speaking. What a contemptuous look. But he would never think that our swordsman has the second interspatial ring, Ling Tianhao said before pursing his lips. I'm surprised he didn't bother us.
That was my fault.
I should have given the ring to you, Haozi, mouse. If Dongfang Yu knew an interspatial ring was in your hands, he would definitely try to take it from you without hesitation. She was definitely hoping to see Dongfang Yu try to take the ring just now. If he had started a fight, Jian Wushuang would have instantly given him a lesson. But Dongfang Yu had no desire to snatch the interspatial ring when he saw that it was in her possession. Things would totally change if the interspatial ring was Ling Tianhao's. Haozi, mouse, the second interspatial ring, it's yours. Jian Wushuang gave the ring to Ling Tianhao. Swordsman, what happened to you? Ling Tianhao looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment, instead of accepting the ring. I need you two to do me a favor. Jian Wushuang said directly. How can we help you?
Yin Min also turned to face him. See this attic?
Jian Wushuang stared at the attic beside him and said with a smile, I want to cultivate alone in this attic with no interruptions, so I need you two to safeguard me.
Cultivate?
You want to cultivate now? Yin Min and Ling Tianhao both felt astonished. Did you have a breakthrough? Yin Min asked spontaneously. Yes, Jian Wushuang said and nodded. Really? Yin Min and Ling Tianhao were both surprised. They believed the fighting capacity of Jian Wushuang was already incredible among people in the spiritual sea realm. If he made a breakthrough, he would probably reach the gold core. Primordial gold core, a level they hoped to reach someday. I need some time to cultivate, but I don't know how long I will need. Maybe our mission will finish before I'm done with my cultivation. So the second interspatial ring naturally belongs to you, Haozi, mouse. After all, it's your last chance to attempt the Golden Dragon Guard mission. If you fail, you will never be able to become a Golden Dragon Guard for the rest of your life. But it's not the same for me, Jian Wushuang said while smiling. I see, Ling Tianhao understood, so he nodded his head with a smile and said, thanks a lot. You can count on us to guard this area. We won't let anyone disturb you.
Thanks, said Jian Wushuang.
Then he smiled and went straight into the attic. Yin Min and Ling Tianhao stood guard in front of the attic. The stout man and his companions witnessed it all because they were still near the courtyard. What is Swordsman doing? Why did he go into the attic? Did he suddenly comprehend something? Is he going to make a breakthrough? Will he reach the gold core? Their complexions became uneasy. The strength of Jian Wushuang was already so terrifying. What kind of level would he reach after he made a breakthrough? Don't mind what he does. From now on, if we meet the three of them, we turn round immediately, the stout man said and left with the others in a hurry. It was true Jian Wushuang was about to achieve a breakthrough but not in the way that Yin Min and the others thought he would. The breakthrough was not into the gold core, but the spiritual sea realm. No one knew that Jian Wushuang, who could easily kill an expert that had achieved the exceptional spiritual sea realm, had not even entered the realm yet. He sat cross-legged inside the attic, where a boundless spiritual power was beginning to come together inside his body. Having reached the top of the 9th heaven of divine path 3 months ago, his breakthrough would happen at any given time. Earlier, while fighting 3 experts of the exceptional spiritual sea realm, he unexpectedly noticed signs that his spiritual power was about to break through. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a breakthrough. Naturally, he did not dare to make any delays. Others are in the realm of spiritual sea, but I'm in the ultimate spiritual sea. Jian Wushuang smiled. In the first place, the heavenly creation skill was heaven-defying cultivation method. Cultivating the skill was an act in defiance of the natural order. With every step, he was defying nature and becoming extraordinary. Ordinary martial arts who cultivated the spirit path were in the spiritual realm of 7 realms of spirit steps. Martial artists cultivating the heavenly creation skill, on the other hand, was in the 9 heavens of divine path. The typical warrior would be in the spiritual sea from spiritual power, while those who cultivated the heavenly creation skill would break through into the ultimate spiritual sea. I wonder what's the so-called expansion of the ultimate spiritual sea? Jian Wushuang felt excited. Inside him, his condensed spiritual power was charging at the barrier of his breakthrough, crashing into it. The spiritual power only made impact several times for breaking the barrier. The rest of his spiritual power instantly flowed into all his tendons and vessels. Here came the ultimate spiritual sea. He finally understood the ultimate spiritual sea really was after the breakthrough. It's the amount of spiritual power. I've only broken through into the spiritual sea realm, but there's so much more spiritual power in my body. I'd say it's 10 times more than the ordinary spiritual sea realm warrior. Surprise crossed his face. Compared with the spiritual sea from spiritual power of ordinary warriors, the spiritual power of ultimate spiritual sea is vaster. The spiritual sea realm was divided into 3 levels, namely the initial, profound, and exceptional realm. There would be a vast improvement in spiritual power in every level advancement. But it was a different story for ultimate spiritual sea. Instead of having the profound realm and initial realm stages, the ultimate spiritual sea had 3 levels that increased the amount of spiritual power with each advancement. Now that Jian Wushuang had entered the first level of the ultimate spiritual sea, his spiritual power was 10 times the amount of spiritual sea realm warrior. In stage 2 of the ultimate spiritual sea, his spiritual power would be 100 times the amount of spiritual sea realm warriors. If he reached stage 3, then his spiritual power could be described as truly endless. The amount of spiritual power available should not be taken lightly. Warriors need a strong foundation of spiritual power, whether to fight with others or display their martial arts. If they exhaust their spiritual power from a prolonged battle or tricky martial arts, they could only wait to be killed. And what did an endless spiritual power meant? That meant if he was fighting someone of a similar strength, he could rely on his endless spiritual power to prolong the battle and wait for his opponent to exhaust his own. This was truly an unbelievably strong advantage. However, through all 3 levels of the ultimate spiritual sea, only the amount of spiritual power would increase and not strengthen itself. That was to say, his spiritual force outbreak would remain consistent throughout. This was unlike ordinary spiritual sea realm warriors who would see a great improvement in their spiritual power outbreak with each level breakthrough. But that did not bother Jian Wushuang. It's only normal that spiritual power outbreak doesn't improve. After all, his spiritual power outbreak was already comparable to that of the exceptional spiritual sea realm when he was at the peak of the 9th heaven of divine path. If his spiritual power increased to its peak after achieving the final level of the ultimate spiritual sea, could anyone still survive after fighting him? My spiritual power outbreak. He closed his eyes and made a fist. He felt the explosive power in his hand, experiencing a far stronger energy than he had ever felt. A smile came to his face. I've now broken through into the ultimate spiritual sea. Though I won't see any improvements in my spiritual power outbreak in the 2nd and 3rd stage in the future, my current spiritual power outbreak is now good enough to surpass an expert of the gold core realm. He was only in the 1st level of the ultimate spiritual sea, yet he had spiritual power outbreak of a primordial gold core. His spiritual power, in particular, surpassed that of ordinary spiritual sea realm warriors. This was the ultimate cultivation of the sky after the expansion of the ultimate spiritual sea. Just as Jian Wushuang was marveling at his breakthrough, something else was going on in the underground secret chamber of the Tianhuan sect. Shadows wrapped in black robes appeared one after another. The screams above are getting fainter. Looks like the fighting is coming to an end in the Tianhuan sect, a man with silver mask said. The warriors of the Golden Dragon Palace have been fighting above for nearly 2 hours, enough time for them to wipe out the entire sect twice. Most spiritual sea realm warriors of the Tianhuan sect had already been slaughtered. Most who remained had already fled, with only a handful still scattered in the corners of the sect. Basically, the fight was about to be over very soon. But just then, something happened. Boom! The door to the secret room was kicked open, followed by the sound of hearty laughter. Ha ha! I didn't expect there's a secret room inside the Tianhuan sect. What's in this room? All the robed men inside the secret room instantly became cold when they heard the laughter. The door of the secret room opened and 4 shadows stepped one after another. If Jian Wushuang were here, he would definitely recognize them at a glance, for they were the ones who had framed him in the past. The minute the 4 men stepped into the secret room, the 9 robed men all glared at them with a deadly coldness. The silver-masked man's gaze was even more severe, piercing enough to stab a human heart like a sword.
Oh.
Feeling the glares of the robed men, the 4 men seemed like their hearts had momentarily stopped beating. That stout man opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But in that instant, the silver-masked man instantly disappeared. When he reappeared again, he was already standing behind the stout man. The stout man's eyes rounded. He felt a warm sensation in his throat and found only gushing warm blood when he touched his throat.
Thud.
The 4 intruders collapsed on the ground. The silver-masked man suddenly spoke, his cold voice reverberating inside the secret room. Since we're already exposed, there's no longer any need to hide. Follow me and just kill our way out. I'd like to see who dare stop me. Dongfeng Yu stood on the roof of an attic, looking cold. He had 5 experts following him earlier, but now one was missing. There were too many spiritual Sea Realm warriors in the Tianhuan sect. Though Dongfeng Yu and his 5 companions of the exceptional spiritual Sea Realm were strong, it was not enough for them to rampage through the sect. Not too long ago, they even lost one of their companions in a fierce battle.
It's been 2 hours.
Those Tianhuan sect warriors that weren't dead had all fled. There aren't many of them left. We've found 3 interspatial ring. I suppose the rest have found the remaining 7, said Dongfeng Yu. The 4 people behind him appeared grim. Dongfeng Yu would definitely claim one of the 3 things, while they had to share the remaining 2. 2 of them were destined to go back empty-handed, failing to accomplish the mission. These 2 interspatial ring, Dongfeng Yu was just about to assign the rings between themselves.
Boom.
When they felt a terrifying aura suddenly emerging, the 5 of them immediately turned toward the source of the aura. They saw robed shadows appearing one after another, all wearing masks and bearing intense murderous intentions. The one who was the most striking was the man with the silver mask. He was the source of the terrifying aura they felt earlier, so strong that Dongfeng Yu could not help the change in his expression.
Gold core.
It's an expert of the gold core realm. There's actually an expert of the gold core realm in the Tianhuan sect? Everyone from the Golden Dragon Palace was also shocked after sensing the fearsome aura. The difference between the primordial gold core and the spiritual sea realm was like heaven and earth. Even Dongfeng Yu, who was close to achieving the gold core, would be defeated by an expert of gold core realm. Worse, he could even be instantly killed. The fearsome aura burst forth from within the silver-masked man, seemingly forming a great storm. When the man charged forward, the storm seemed to be swept away. Death to those who stop me, the man roared, creating a commotion in the Tianhuan sect that had just recently fallen into a brief silence. Let's go fast, Dongfeng Yu said. Together with his 4 companions, he jumped off the roof in haste and disappeared. He was afraid to even show up in the robed men's line of sight for fear of them targeting him. Whoosh! A figure abruptly appeared before the group of robed men. It was none other than the gray-clothed elder Mr. Hua. Are you people from the Blood Feather Tower? Mr. Hua appeared grim. He did not expect there would be so many assassins of the Blood Feather Tower to be hidden within the Tianhuan sect. Good that you know. The silver-masked man relaxed when he saw the man before him was a mere gold core warrior and realized that the Golden Dragon ambassador was gone. He sneered and said, "Our Blood Feather Tower doesn't intend on making enemies with the Golden Dragon Palace. Today, you're here to destroy the Tianhuan sect. That has nothing to do with us. We just so happen to witness it. In that case, then I ask you that you leave immediately. In addition, you're not to fight with these rookies who have just accepted the mission of the Golden Dragon Guard. Otherwise," Mr. Hua said in a low voice. As the #1 assassination organization of Tianzhong dynasty, the Blood Feather Tower did not have a pervasive influence in the Tiannan province. But it was better not to provoke them if there was not a need to.
Don't worry.
We just want to leave this place. We naturally won't hurt them as long as they don't stop us. The silver-masked man smiled. He glanced at the 8 black-robed men beside him and said, "Let's go. Kill anyone who dares to get in our way."
Yes.
Their figures blurring into mere shadows, the black-robed men jumped onto the pavilion roof and started leaping from one roof to another. Whether it was the remaining Tianhuan sect disciples or the rookies from the Golden Dragon Palace, none dared to stop the impressive sight of an expert of Gold Core Realm leading 8 exceptional spiritual Sea Realm warriors. Just then, Jian Wushuang had stepped out of the attic after breaking through into the ultimate spiritual sea. The moment he came out, he instantly sensed the terrifying aura permeating the Tianhuan sect. He immediately leaped to the roof, finding Yin Min and Ling Tianhao already there.
Those are...
Yin Min and Ling Tianhao noticed many robed silhouettes leaping across roofs, charging in their direction. They were particularly frightened by the terrifying aura bursting from the silver-masked man. They both immediately recognized the silver-masked man. It's a gold core standout. 1 gold core and 8 profound spiritual sea realm warriors. They're heading in our direction. Let's retreat. They did not hesitate and also warned Jian Wushuang. Swordsman, hurry up and leave. But Jian Wushuang did not show any signs of wanting to escape. He remained rooted in place, staring coolly at the robed shadows before him. Black robes, masks.
Blood Feather Tower.
He muttered these 3 words through gritted teeth, as a burning killing intent raged within him.
Whem.
He swiped at the men with a ringing sound, releasing his sword essence. The majestic stream of murderous intention and sword essence merged together to be one and flew up to the 9th heaven. The incomparably mysterious power within his body, the power of sword soul, in his body seemed to be gradually awakening at the same time. Jian Wushuang had unsheathed his triple-kill sword in a flash and stood coolly on the roof of the attic as if he was the king of swordsmanship dominating everyone's lives and deaths, drawing everyone's attention to him. Swordsman, hurry up and go. Yin Min and Ling Tianhao were surprised to see Jian Wushuang not escaping. Instead, he was standing there bearing a strong intention to battle it out with the robed men. In every corner of the Tianhuan sect, the surviving warriors who had accepted the mission were all standing on rooftops. They had also spotted the figure emitting a strong fighting desire.
It's him.
It's the swordsman? These people recognized Jian Wushuang. What is this trash trying to do? He must have gone mad with fear. 8 of those black-robed men were exceptional spiritual sea realm warriors, and the last was even an expert of gold core realm. He should have retreated after seeing such a group. Dongfeng Yu said, he's really digging his own grave. On the roof, Jian Wushuang had the aura of a master swordsman as he stared at those black-robed men with a chilling expression. Both sides continued moving towards each other. The black-robed men fiercely raced across the rooftops. Upon noticing Jian Wushuang standing in their way, their eyes flashed with killing intent. Kill him, said one of the black-robed men. Like to said to Mr. Hua, they only wanted to leave. But if someone wanted to stop them, they would attack and kill them without hesitation. Jian Wushuang was clearly planning to stop them. Swordsman, retreat.
Retreat, retreat, retreat.
Yin Min and Ling Tianhao shouted widely at Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang did not move at all.
Retreat?
Should I retreat?
Impossible. Jian Wushuang roared in his heart.
He was too weak 4 months ago, so he could only run away while being chased by a great number of silver and golden masked assassins from the Blood Feather Tower. But now, 4 months later, everything had changed. More importantly, his opponents were just 1 silver masked assassin and 8 copper masked assassins. They were not strong enough to make him retreat.
Since he did not have to retreat, he would fight. This is war.
I couldn't afford to stand out in the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace because there were too many people around. But everything that happens during the Golden Dragon Palace task is top secret. No one would dare to spread the information. So I don't have to worry about drawing attention or my true strength being revealed. Jian Wushuang raised his head, looking at them with cold eyes that were void of any emotion. He moved directly in front of the black-robed men and abruptly swung his triple-kill sword. The first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. The speed of his sword flashed out. At this moment, it was even more incredible, cold, and harsh than ever before. On the roof, except for the silver-masked man, the other 8 black-robed men saw a dazzling sword light move towards them, with a reflection in their eyes growing larger. The sword light was too fast. A hint of panic could be felt coming from the 8 black-robed men. In the next moment, the sword flash swept past the necks of those 8 men without any obstruction. The 8 black-robed men fell down without making a sound. All of a sudden, the whole Tianhuan sect went dead still. Silence, dead silence. Everyone in the Tianhuan sect was shocked by this terrifying sword speed. On top of the roof, the silver-masked man in a black robe was the only one still standing in front of Jian Wushuang. He glanced at the black-robed men who had all just died and felt frightened. He also saw the stroke from Jian Wushuang. The only one stroke swept past the necks of the 8 men at an amazing speed, killing all 8 of the exceptional spiritual sea realm assassins from Blood Feather Tower.
Who are you?
The silver-masked man in a black robe asked with unprecedented seriousness. I am swordsman, Jian Wushuang answered indifferently. I only want to leave here. I'm not trying to impede your task and I'm not a person from the Tianhuan sect. I shouldn't be a target from your task, the silver-masked man in a black robe said in a low voice. It has nothing to do with the Golden Dragon Palace. You were all dead the moment I saw you, Jian Wushuang said without any emotion.
Let's see who die first.
The silver-masked man in a black robe turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. A dark red dagger pierced the air and immediately moved towards Jian Wushuang's head with an unprecedented speed. At the same time, a gruff voice from the silver-masked man in black robe rang out.
Go to hell.
The eyes of the silver-masked man in a black robe were filled with killing intent. As an assassin at the silver mask level in the Bloodfeather Tower, his first move was a slaughter move.
Ridiculous, said Jian Wushuang.
Smiling indifferently, he charged toward the killer. This seemingly casual sword move was the first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. The speed of the sword light was unbelievably quick. That was the sword movement. The gray-robed elder, Mr. Hua, concentrated on this rooftop fight in the near distance.
He looked serious.
Sword essence of Gale, he grasped a sense of the sword essence of Gale. And his understanding of it is very deep. The sword movement was so quick. Yes, the speed was very fast. The dark red dagger had not reached Jian Wushuang, yet the sword light from Jian Wushuang's attack had already moved towards the silver-masked man in a black robe.
Clang!
As a deep metal crash sounded, the silver-masked man suddenly felt a strong power surge through his dark red dagger. The power of the clash instantly numbed his hands and forced him to retreat. The silver-masked man gaped in shock at Jian Wushuang. He hasn't reached primordial golden core, but his spiritual power is as strong as mine. More importantly, his swordsmanship is faster and superior to mine.
Sword essence.
Yes, he has grasped a sense of sword essence. It was no wonder that the silver-masked man in a black robe was so stunned. He could tell that Jian Wushuang had not reached the level of primordial golden pill yet. After all, spiritual power had a qualitative change once it reached the level of primordial golden pill. Once it was released, spiritual power at the primordial golden pill level couldn't be hidden. He didn't sense an aura at the level of the golden pill from Jian Wushuang. So he was sure that Jian Wushuang had not reached the level of primordial golden pill realm. This alone was enough to thoroughly surprise him. He has reached the peak of initial gold core realm, and there was only one step away from profound gold core realm. He used a slaughter move, but he was thoroughly defeated by Jian Wushuang, who had not even reached the gold core yet. What does it mean? Run. The silver-masked man in a black robe instantly made a decision. He could only run. As an assassin, speed was his strong point, so he fled for his life. However, the speed of Jian Wushuang was much faster than his. Trying to escape? Jian Wushuang said indifferently. What? The silver-masked man in a black robe was astonished and filled with a sense of bitterness. Warriors with a sense of the sword essence of Gale are best at speed. Go to hell, Jian Wushuang said while releasing a strong killing intent. It was the second move of anonymous swordsmanship, sword-killing movement. A dazzling and bloody sword light appeared. This strike is even faster and stronger than the previous one. The silver-masked man in a black robe was full of despair and he even gave up on fighting back at this moment. The dazzling bloody sword light easily slashed out through his neck.
Spurt.
The silver-masked man in a black robe, at the level of initial gold core realm, was lying dead on the ground. In Tianhuan's sect, everyone was surprised to see the silver-masked man in a black robe falling down. He was as proud as a peacock just now and said that no one could stand in his way. But he was killed by someone else in only a second. And it was a person who accepted a one-clawed gold dragon guard mission. Swordsman, he unexpectedly killed a gold core realm expert. He killed all 8 people in the exceptional spiritual sea realm and even the expert in the gold core realm. He couldn't even run away. Is he the same swordsman who could not take 3 moves from Dongfengyu? He can kill innate gold core realm experts, but he could not take 3 attacks from Dongfengyu. Everyone was shocked by what they had just witnessed. As for Dongfengyu, his expression was extremely funny. How was that possible? Dongfengyu murmured. His eyes were empty. He simply could not believe it. He killed 8 people in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. He even killed the gold core realm expert in 1 move. That man didn't even get a chance to run away. What level was his strength at? And it was the same man that could not take 3 moves from him during recruitment that did it. He couldn't believe it. He recalled what he said to Jian Wushuang at the beginning of the mission. You are just a waste. There are so many people in the Tianhuan sect that can kill you. His words had been full of disdain. Thinking back to those words, Dongfengyu's complexion became very pale. He suddenly realized that Jian Wushuang must have lost on purpose. After killing the silver-masked man in a black robe on the roof, Jian Wushuang looked over and noticed Dongfengyu inside the courtyard. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang moved swiftly towards Dongfengyu, appearing in front of him in a second. Whoosh! An icy sword edge hit Dongfengyu's throat. Hand over your interspatial ring, or you will die. Jian Wushuang said coldly without any emotion. Dongfengyu moved his throat, clearly sensing the icy sword edge, remembering the recent death of the man of gold core realm. He had no doubt that Jian Wushuang could do it. The four people behind Dongfang Yu had disdained Jian Wushuang earlier, but now they did not even dare to breathe.
Should I refuse? Dongfang Yu roared in mind.
His small and fragile self-esteem fought with his reason, but in the end, his reason prevailed. While trembling, Dongfang Yu handed over an interspatial ring to Jian Wushuang without too much hesitation. Jian Wushuang took the interspatial ring and smiled. He looked Dongfang Yu up and down as if he was a contemptible scoundrel. Finally, Jian Wushuang withdrew and sheathed the triple-kill sword, walking away without a single word. Dongfang Yu and the four people sighed with relief after Jian Wushuang went away. At that moment, they were totally soaked in sweat, especially Dongfang Yu. He was still trembling even now. Suddenly Dongfang Yu turned to the four people behind him. An interspatial ring was taken away by swordsman. That means only 2 people can finish the task now. Dongfang Yu looked gloomy. Then the complexions of the 4 people behind Dongfang Yu turned serious. Yin Min and Ling Tianhao were waiting in the courtyard. It didn't take long for Jian Wushuang to arrive. Ling Tianhao moved towards Jian Wushuang and smiled. Haha, swordsman, innate gold core realm, a real gold core realm expert was killed by you.
You are so awesome.
You were indeed awesome, swordsman. Yin Min gave Jian Wushuang the thumbs up. Well, the reason why your strength improved so much was because you had made a breakthrough, right?
Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded.
The reason that he was able to kill the 8 in the exceptional spiritual sea realm with only 1 stroke and even kill the silver-masked man in a black robe, who was at the peak of the initial gold core realm, was because he made a breakthrough and reached the ultimate spirit sea. As a result, his spiritual power improved to a level similar to an average warrior in the gold core realm. If he had not made a breakthrough, he could not have killed the silver-masked man in black robe so easily.
We should leave here, Jian Wushuang said.
What about the ring?
Ling Tianhao asked. Don't worry.
I took an interspatial ring just now,
Jian Wushuang said. Oh.
Yin Min and Ling Tianhao both felt surprised. I saw Dongfang Yu and snatched an interspatial ring from him just now, said Jian Wushuang, smiling weirdly. After hearing that, both Yin Min and Ling Tianhao showed great interest. Haha, swordsman, did you confront Dongfang Yu? Ling Tianhao looked excited. I don't think Dongfang Yu has enough courage to fight with you. He must have handed over the interspatial ring immediately. Haha, I wonder how terrible the expression on his face was, Yin Min said and laughed. Certainly, it must have been very ugly, Ling Tianhao said and also laughed. Both Yin Min and Ling Tianhao had some kind of beef with Dongfang Yu, so they disliked him. But they both could not contend with him. So it was reasonable for them to be so excited when they heard that Dongfang Yu suffered a defeat on swordsman's hand. Jian Wushuang only shook his head and smiled. In his eyes, Dongfang Yu was just a contemptible scoundrel and could not make a difference at all. Outside this gigantic valley, the grey-robed elder Mr. Huo waited quietly. Some warriors in the one-clawed gold dragon guard mission had recently returned. Mr. Huo didn't pay any attention to them though. However, when Jian Wushuang, Lin Min and Lin Tianhao came back safe and sound, everyone immediately looked in their direction. Swordsman. Although he only reached spiritual sea realm, he killed an expert in primordial gold core. It was too awesome. The people who witnessed the death of the 9 black-robed men had complicated expressions while they looked at Jian Wushuang more carefully this time. Even the grey-robed elder, Mr. Hua, gave Jian Wushuang a friendly smile. Mr. Hua said gently, "Well done, kiddo." "Thanks," Jian Wushuang said modestly. "Please wait for a while," said Mr. Hua with a smile. Whoosh! Sword light flashed at an amazingly fast speed, just like a fish swimming in the water, shifting around naturally. It was quite a bit later when Jian Wushuang finally stopped practicing. "Kid, I think I am beginning to understand why Bloodfeather Tower chased you in such a crazy manner," Sima Bu said to him with a complex look on his face. "To be honest, I have to admit that you are an exceptional genius. You have grasped the sword principle of Gale today even though you just learned of the essence realm of heaven and earth yesterday. Your talent completely outmatches the exceptional genius I mentioned to you earlier. If I'm not mistaken, although your natural talent is good, part of it must have to do with your awakening of the sword soul." Sword soul. Jian Wushuang felt a tremor in his heart, then nodded, quietly approving. Indeed, when practicing his swordsmanship, he also realized that something inside him helped him comprehend the essences of heaven and earth. Even though it was difficult for others, he could easily grasp the sword essence of Gale. But what was it inside him that helped him comprehend the essences of heaven and earth? Undoubtedly, it must be because of his sword soul awakening. Sword soul. Something that drove Bloodfeather Tower to chase after him desperately. Naturally, it must be extraordinary. It was due to the sword soul that he could immediately and swiftly comprehend a trace of the sword essence of Gale. Anyhow, I have already grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale. With it, my swordsmanship should be several times or even dozens of times more skillful than before. Jian Wushuang thought with a bright look in his eyes. Only a trace of sword essence of Gale could easily make his sword several times faster once it was integrated into his swordsmanship. Such an increase in speed also helped sharpen his swordsmanship, greatly contributing to its piercing force. It would cause his level of swordsmanship to increase immensely. Let me test it against a spirit beast first. Jian Wushuang thought quietly. Shortly after, he fought with a huge iron-backed bear. Its force was extremely dreadful and absolutely the most formidable spirit beast in the exceptional transforming sea realm. If he had encountered this huge iron-backed bear before grasping a trace of the sword essence of Gale, Jian Wushuang would have had no choice but to flee in a disorderly manner. However, now he did not even show a trace of fear.
Kill.
After releasing a low howl, with his eyes blazing like torches, Jian Wushuang waved his sword. Sword light flashed out across the air for several meters before finally striking the huge body of the iron-backed bear directly. The sword light was so fleeting that the iron-backed bear didn't even realize its body had been injured at first. Instantly, a flood of fresh blood poured out from the sword scar on its body. Though the sword scar was nothing to its huge body and strong defense, it was definitely enough to enrage the iron-backed bear.
Howl.
The howl from the iron-backed bear's mouth echoed in the surroundings. Its two giant feet stamped on the ground as it made great strides towards Jian Wushuang. Every step forward produced a minor tremor.
Go to hell, human.
The dark golden eyes of the iron-backed bear were a bloody color and its desire to kill Jian Wushuang increased dramatically.
Haha, come on.
Jian Wushuang began to laugh loudly while moving his sword to fight against it. After a while, a cold and dazzling sword light directly penetrated its defense and plunged into its throat. Iron-backed bears are formidable in both power and defense, but their speed is very slow. Now that I have grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale, I can easily surpass it in speed. There is no chance for it to resist against my absolute advantage in speed. Jian Wushuang smiled secretly. Iron-backed bears, the most formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm. Now, they could easily be slain by Jian Wushuang.
Continue.
Next, the tests progressed forward as he battled one formidable spirit beasts after another, such as purple crystal-winged lions, phantom foxes, gibbon-shaped wolverines, 9 poisons pythons and so on. The most formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm became the opponents of Jian Wushuang and were eventually killed by him.
Time flew by.
It had already been 1 month since Jian Wushuang entered the Dark Forest. The Dark Forest covered an abundantly immense area, stretching across 2 provinces. Although he had already traveled for a month, Jian Wushuang still had a long way to go before he would reach the Tiannan province. With his hands crossed, in the darkness of the forest, Sima Bu gravely stared at Jian Wushuang, who was practicing his swordsmanship in front of him. In his eyes, he could clearly perceive that every one of Jian Wushuang's extremely heavy moves interacted and integrated with the earth.
Sword essence of earth.
He has just grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale, but in less than a month after that, he seems to have also grasped the sword essence of earth. Unbelievable, it's really unbelievable.
It shocked Sima Bu to his core.
It was really incredible for him to simultaneously grasp 2 kinds of sword essence within a month. However, this made Sima Bu much more curious about Sword Soul. What on earth is Sword Soul? And how did it create such a monster? It wasn't long before Jian Wushuang finished practicing his swordsmanship. Earth, warm and heavy. The sword essence of earth is exactly like this. Jian Wushuang forced a smile and rejoiced. He himself didn't expect to grasp the sword essence as easily as he did today. He grasped sword principle of Gale earlier, but only 1 month later he had also grasped a trace of the sword essence of earth. For his part, that must be the result of the sword soul. Great progress had been made in his swordsmanship in the past month. First, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th heaven of the divine path after 1 month's worth of life and death fighting and day and night cultivation. His current level was comparable to when he used the soul-taking secret skill to fight against Yi-Mo. At its peak, the 9th heaven of the divine path was equivalent to the exceptional transforming sea realm. Secondly, his swordsmanship, and especially his fighting experience, had made greater progress. Now, without a doubt, he was completely experienced in fighting. As for sword essence, he learned more tricks in the sword essence of Gale and became more skilled and flexible in the practice and use of sword essence. But more importantly, he also apprehended a trace of the sword essence of earth just now. It must be acknowledged that he had grasped 2 different sword essences of nature in this short amount of time. Characterized by its flexibility and fastness, the sword essence of Gale could make sword arts and piercing force much more powerful. As for the sword essence of earth, it was boundless and tremendous due to its heaviness and steadiness. If used perfectly and flexibly, these two sword essences could make his sword arts more dreadful and formidable. After a month of cultivating and fighting, I have killed numerous spirit beasts easily. Even the formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm are not considered a threat to me, so, exposing a cold look in his eyes, Jian Wushuang made a decision in his mind.